Hey, welcome in. This is Shah. You might want to skip 10 minutes forward. I will be reacting to Wood's Would Legalizing Adult Services Fixed Dating Issues. Yeah, it's a really long stream, so can't guarantee I'll react to the whole thing, but I'm just going to give it a few minutes and see if anyone comes in before I start reacting. Till then, you'll have to listen to the ambient sounds of me getting this set up. And oh damn, I left the tea leaves in my tea for too long. It's potentially ruined now. Oh well. Okay. I also got popcorn, so I'll try not to be annoying when I eat that. That's good popcorn. So this was apparently a very interesting discussion. So Dee reacted to some of It's Complicated's video for like the first 40 minutes of this, and then invited a panel of guests to discuss legalizing prostitution. So I thought I'd check it out. I'm just gonna go back a little bit to some of the last part of It's Complicated's video and just start watching it, just to give us some time so we'll have something.
Out here looking to gain something from these guys. So they're not, because they don't want to get their feelings hurt. They don't want to get their feelings hurt because they put themselves in a position to be with a guy who really was not interested in them, but was just playing them. And then they got their feelings hurt. Now, every man is a problem. Every man they see as that person who hurt them. So now it's like revenge. I hear women say it all the time. Look, I'm not trying to fall in love because I don't want to get my feelings hurt. So you know what? I'm gonna play this ninja for whatever I could get out of him, and I'm gonna keep it moving. This is why they have a rotation, because you want to get what you can out of all of these dudes. And when you don't need them anymore, or when you've gotten yourself to a place where you feel you don't need them, then you drop them like a hot potato, and then you continue the pattern of picking a Pookie or Ray Ray because that's what you really like. And so you'll put all your hopes and dreams into them again, thinking that this is somebody who's going to do right by you. And then you find yourself in a miserable, hurt situation all over again because you don't learn. You're just mad. You get mad, and when that wears off, you're back to your same antics. And while you could have had good guys who were there for you, you took advantage of them. See? Because the good guy, or the ones they assume are good guys who are in it probably for the right reasons, who are really liking you, really into you, you use them. You get them to pay your bills and do all these things, knowing good and well you don't really want him. So that's what men have to look out for. That's what men have to be aware of and cautious of, because these women are playing games more than ever. They're not innocently just sitting back, want love, and they're the innocent ones all the time, and they're just getting all messed over and dirty. No, they playing the games. They playing games. Dante Bryant, thank you so much for the super chat. Says they better pray to the Most High they don't make prostitution legal. The marriage rates would drop precipitously. Probably so. Thank you so much for the super chat, Dante. I appreciate you. I mean, listen.
I wonder if that's really true, because I don't know, in other places where it's legal, like in Germany and these kinds of countries, I don't think the marriage rates are like down or non-existent. Maybe it would have some effect here though for a bit, just because of how bad things have been, but I don't think that's true. It would probably help marriage.
And marriage rates are already dropping, aren't they?
There you go.
And then people who are married, divorce rates are going up because women are leaving the men because they let the sisterhood tell them, oh girl, he ain't good enough, girl. You need to get you a rich man, or get you a white man, or get you a man who's gonna be able to, treat you like a princess and a queen and all of these things. And the man that you have is no longer good enough because he don't make enough money, girl. You do more than what he do financially. You don't need him. You need this, you need that. So they're leaving their husbands thinking that the grass is greener on the other side. And then a lot of them get out here and they realize ain't nothing really out here for them, because you're past your expiration. You're 40 something years old. You've had your kids. You're successful. You got a career. What are you looking for from a man that you already didn't have, that you didn't have? So it's just getting crazier and crazier. Dante once again says brothers would leave work, go to one of these brothels, handle their business, go home, and get ready to do it all over again. Probably so. Thank you once again for the super chat, Dante. I appreciate you. Classic Perspective, thank you for the super chat. Says they gave up the fresher squeeze of their orange juice. Now they're ready for a man to take the last sip to simp. That's funny. Excuse me, y'all. Thank you for the super chat, Classic Perspective. I appreciate you. Yeah, I mean, it's just sad. I mean, I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I think if they made it legal, it would be easier for men, like you said, to go and just get what you want done, boom, bam, go back home, tend to your life, live your life. It wouldn't be an issue for a lot of men. They'll be able to just get pleasure and pay, and that's it, without the headache of the women. And so I think then the women who are out here expecting the most from men, all these unrealistic expectations, I feel like that would just kind of dissipate, because men don't have to do it. There would be no incentive or reasoning for them to play around with these women or try to simp for them, right? Because what would be the point? They really not going to pay for these expensive dinner dates. They're really not going to pay for anything for a woman, because they don't need to do that. They can just go over. It's legal. Go over, get pleased, and then go home and live your life. You don't have to worry about whether this woman is loyal, whether she really likes you, or whether she really want to be with you or whatever. You wouldn't have to worry about that, right? That would be something that would take a lot of stress off of a lot of men's minds, where they don't have to think about that or have to worry about it. And I think, what's the point of getting married? What's the point of actually being in a relationship? You can get sex, no problem, and it's not a headache. And
they would get married for love and intimacy, and because you guys, really like each other. And then the other reason would be children. Or at the very least, that's why you'd have like a long sustained thing with someone, would be, for family and child rearing and the stuff marriage is supposed to be for. Because you couldn't get that from a prostitute, even if it was legal. I mean, you know what I mean.
You don't have to think about the rest. I think relationships and dating will probably drop in a lot, and maybe it'll force the women to realize, hey, we can't play this game anymore. Maybe we need to start to change some things. Maybe it will force the women to do something better. Maybe. I don't know. I am 47 and I don't take women on dates. Don't have to. Isn't that something? Let's continue.
So it's kind of, it's kind of like a backwards game. It's crazy.
Wouldn't men be more fulfilled and less angry and violent?
Yeah, actually, it would limit so much emotional and actual physical abuse.
If you're depending on sex to make you feel better, or another person or anything, then that just shows that, you're not working on your spirit.
Wouldn't men be less pitted against each other to compete for women?
Yes, there is so much war between men trying to get the same girl. It's insane.
The competition, like I said, it'll equal out the playing field. You know what I mean? So, like, we have the 1% and we have us. I'm not 1%. I'm not a multi-millionaire in the bank. I work on things and I do work hard, and I'm probably more than the average man, but you know what? Like, it would equal out the playing field. It would make it fair for all of us to play the same game.
Wouldn't it flood the market and drive down prices?
Yeah, actually, it would. It would. It would eliminate so much stuff like the black market.
Hoflation, right? Hoflation. So hoflation, you know, it would bring down the price. Supply and demand. It's a simple economics, you know, idea. So, yeah, of course.
We have the black market, all genders, all ages now. Like, it's actually even.
I wish we could do a study. Do people in countries where prostitution is legal simp less than people in countries where prostitution is not legal? Like, would OnlyFans collapse tomorrow if it was legalized?
Scarier now. Before it was safer. You had security guards. You had people protecting you. You had people making sure everything was going about the right way and the safe way.
Can you think of any reasons not to legalize it?
Really, no, I can't.
The reason that's always given, I think, is sex trafficking. But I don't know. I would like to look at the countries like where it is legal and compare if there's more or less sex trafficking there than there is in places where it's illegal, because I kind of doubt it would change.
I think it's a drug. And I think the more you do the drug, the more you're going to be into it, the more you're going to be okay with it. And it creates a problem in certain people. If you have like an addictive personality or whatever, like you're going to keep doing it. And, you know, it might be a problem with your wife. Well, you know, if you're having sex with hookers and you have a wife, I think that's a problem.
You know what else is the problem? If you have a wife and she hasn't had sex with you in 5 years, it's like, well, I don't know. I guess that guy could like stop somewhere after work and then come home and deal with his sexless marriage and have an outlet.
Don't do that to your wife, bro.
What are your thoughts on the expression, every man pays for sex?
I agree.
You're going on a date and you have to spend your money for her to like you more. Some people don't do that. I got guys that don't do nothing for no females. Nothing. You hear me? And they still giving that cat up.
Well, we all pay for sex. And if it's not money, it's investment. Or you know what it is? It's me working as hard as I can.
I want to move forward to the panel, but let's just see what she has to say before she brings the panel on.
I think this legalizing prostitution would probably make a difference when it comes to dating and the price for men, and I think it might change simping in a way, because if you're out here trying to do the most or believe that as the man you're supposed to do the most for a woman to get her attention or to date her or to be in her presence, and you just believe that, oh, I have to level up to the point, not for yourself but for them, so that I can even get the attention of certain women and even possibly sleep with this woman because I'm a judge. Because any man, if you're attracted to a woman, you know, physically, then you probably will want to have sex with her. I mean, that's a part of it, right? So if even just to get up to her enough to have a conversation with her, to be in her presence, to be a part of her life, if you think that you have to put out all this money and you have to spend all this money to do that, then if all this becomes legalized, then you don't have to do that anymore.
I don't like the idea of the whole self-improvement thing in order to solve the dating problem. Becoming a high-value man isn't going to solve all the inequalities and injustices out here when it comes to relationships and family law. And if that's what you got to rely on in order to make, you know, some really, really selfish people like you, then you're already losing.
You don't have to do that. Especially if there's nothing else, you know, there's no established relationship, and right out the gate, you got to spend hundreds or thousands of dollars on this woman just to be around her. It's going to save you time. It's going to save you money, and, you know, save you a lot of effort going down the drain. Because if you're dating several women and you're doing this for all these women, you're losing a lot of money. And 9 times out of 10, she probably don't even want to be with you anyway. A lot of these women are playing games. They don't really be wanting these dudes. I'm telling you. And the ones, like that guy said, the ones who.
That just happened with DJ Academics. There was a video about him, and he was on a podcast talking about his girlfriend or whatever who stole like $500,000 in cash from him. And a lot of people are like, man, this guy's basically doing all the shit that's the opposite of the advice they give on those podcasts, you know.
Who are getting the sex, they don't have to buy you nothing. They don't have to do anything. They don't have to spend a lot of money on you because that's the type of men that these women are looking for. So 9 times out of 10, they're trying to finesse the ones who seem nice and who will be willing to pay their bills and do all this extra stuff. That's the ones they probably don't want. The ones who don't have to do any of that and they just like the way they look and they got the swag, they ain't got to come out of their pocket. They could get them a McDonald's fry, and that'll be sufficient enough for these women because they don't care about all of that when it's somebody that they really want. And that's
It's funny because if a guy's doing all that shit in order to get the woman to like him and to basically get access to her, there's really very little difference between that and prostitution in the first place anyways. It's just one's like under the table and the other one's just honest about it.
just what it is. And it's unfortunate that the guys who would be good candidates for relationships have to go through this. So I think in some ways, I think legalizing this will give you at least an opportunity to say, you know what, let me just go over here, get pleased, and then I can move on and I can focus on a relationship in a different way. You know what I'm saying? Maybe it would help. I don't know. I want to hear from you guys.
You know, is prostitution necessarily something that is opposed to the concept of self-improvement? Can a guy who's like lower on the ladder, you know, he's got a job, whatever, can he go to a brothel or something, partake of its services, and continue on his path of self-improvement? Or is his participation in a brothel going to automatically derail him? I mean, I guess if he's wasting thousands of dollars on it, then maybe, but the same argument can be said from getting with the woman. Like, you have very little experience with women, and then you get with the woman who pretty much just drains you of your cash. And you end up spending more on her anyways, and your life is probably even more derailed because she knows so much more about your private life, and you're way more exposed and vulnerable to her than walking into a brothel.
Skinny Boy 20 Boy says the sisterhood pushes dumb rhetoric but offer no productive solutions when the pot has boiled over, just like the feminist movement. Exactly. Thank you, Skinny Boy 20 Boy. I appreciate you for the super chat.
Let's get
All
to the
it
panel.
consists of is you sucking and effing, and we saw that clip.
So this panel is about to be for a long ass time, and I got my bucket of popcorn, and I got some tea and some water. I'll probably have to get up to pee a couple of times, and let's see what's going on. So she's gonna bring on the panel.
Than unmarried couples.
Go to that. Like, that's all you got. You don't know nothing else because they've psyched these women up and lied to them and told them that that's all that matters. And now they realize, baby, that's not the only thing that matters. You're gonna have to bring something more to the table. Now they looking around dumbfounded, confused, and wondering what I'm supposed to do. I don't know, you know. It's a mess. Jermaine, how are you, Jermaine?
What's going on? How are you?
How you been? I'm good.
Yeah.
Long time no see.
Yeah.
We got Jermaine.
Yeah, definitely, man. I just think it's an amazing topic to talk about, regardless of which side you stand on it. But the reason I don't think it should be legalized, like marriage. All right, so like when we talk about the root of our problems is the destruction of the nuclear family, right?
Yeah.
Since the no-fault divorce and everything, the sexual liberation, I don't think we should dive more into it to solve a problem that was caused by it, right? Like married people are actually more financially secure than unmarried couples and singles, right? And there was a video on YouTube I wanted to watch that is actually the quickest way to wealth. A lot of people don't know that, right? So everybody's out here chasing this bag and want to chase these bags individually, not knowing that it's actually marriage is the way to the bag for a lot of people, right?
You know, it's interesting. Man, you know, when I used to work at the child support agency, every time I read divorce orders, I would always think about how that family's nest egg was getting juiced by lawyers and this whole divorce process. And basically little Timmy's college fund was just getting eaten. And it's not even just the divorce process. It's just that you have a family with like 1 or 2 kids or whatever, and they live in a house, you know, and let's say their bills are $3,000 a month. After the divorce, there's now two households. You know what I mean? Forget about the cost of divorce and all this other stuff and all the money you spent on bullshit. But now dad has a house, mom has a house, and they each have bills of about $3,000 a month. So money that can go to little Timmy's, college nest egg and be a springboard for little Timmy to be more successful is just getting constantly eaten by this separation. And marriage is good for generational wealth building, but divorce is the worst thing for passing on wealth to your children, because by that time that the kids are older, there's not much left to pass on.
So a lot of women come on,
and then if the families get with other people and then they have kids, or if they split up, all the money just gets washing machined away.
They say, I would get married to a man if he, most women are going to say 6 figures, but some of them are going to be like, well, he doesn't have to have 6 figures as long as he's motivated. And a lot of men are against that because they're like, I'm not going to break my back just to support your lifestyle. That's not what you should be breaking your back for.
Well, I think it's fucking stupid that you got to have all that money in position first to be able to start the marriage. If it's going to be like that, they should both the man and woman should get married when they're young, in their early 20s, like how it's used to be. And if she's not there while you're walking up that mountain to get to the top, then I'm sorry, but you don't just get to get elevated up there once the man makes it.
Right.
If you get married, you should continually be motivated because every man should want to leave something for his future generations in case one of them fail, right? So instead of legalizing prostitution, I think we should do the opposite with a law that's already on the books, and that's fornication, right? If we enforced against fornication, a few things would happen. One of the reasons women have the attitude about marriage the way they do is because sex is way too available for them, right? Like if a woman wants to just sleep with a man, it's way easier than for a man. So they don't value marriage like that because it's like, I could just get my rocks off whenever I feel like, plus get money from this dude or whatever. So they don't really respect marriage. Now, if you enforce fornication, laws against fornication, and that means toys, that means videos, that means OnlyFans, that means cam models, everything has to go. You're funneled into marriage, right? Because that's one of the few options you have left. If you're funneled into marriage, now you're having the fixing of the disease we had by killing it off at the root.
He's saying if you get rid of porn and you enforce against that, it'll make people want to get married to be able to experience sex. But I don't think what he's saying is exactly clear, because he's talking about sex toys and OnlyFans and all this kind of stuff. You can get rid of porn. You can enforce that. But can you enforce people from having sex outside of marriage? Because getting rid of those things doesn't funnel people into marriage unless you're also enforcing people to not have sex out of marriage. So are you going to throw people in jail when, Jane and Timmy hook up behind the RV somewhere? Are they going to jail? Because if his answer is yes, then we got a serious human rights issue here. And it's just like, I think what this guy's trying to do is he's trying to close Pandora's box. You know what I mean? You can't enforce people's right to do what they want with their bodies, because at this point, we're so far down the sexual liberation pathway that taking that away is synonymous with taking away their human rights. So what he's proposing is not going to keep marriages together unless he's also saying you're going to have to punish people for cheating on each other and be able to stop them from that.
So while I understand why people think prostitution should be legalized, because, there's no saving these women, like they're going to go into it anyway, I don't think we've thought about actually the opposite, which is reinforcing, police officers against fornication. They even had laws against immodest dress. Like I said before, probably, or in another chat, there's a picture on Twitter of a woman getting a ticket for wearing a two-piece.
I know that picture. It's like that. It's in like the 60s, and it's at a beach.
Bikini instead of a one-piece
Yeah.
bikini. You know what I'm saying? So that's how she got a ticket for that.
That was back in the 60s.
It's a long time ago, black and white photo.
Okay.
But it really causes less temptation for men because the women won't be dressed provocative, and funnel people into this. Now you have less STDs, you have less broken families, and
She's basically advocating for a more traditional society with laws that enforce traditional norms and values. And what took us away from traditional norms and values in the first place was women saying they were oppressed by those laws. Society has basically bought into the legitimacy of that argument that women were oppressed and therefore they now have these rights where they didn't before. So in order to go back to his way, because he doesn't want prostitution to be legalized, he wants it to be more like a moral valued society where the laws actually enforce those morals. You then have to, on the other side, take away these rights that women pretty much hold fundamental to their existence and value and whatever, they say is right. So I don't see society doing that anytime soon because I just think that's impossible. And then if we're going to live in a society where women have the right, men have the right, and everybody has the right to have sex with who they want, when they want, and there's nothing you or I can do about it, then the whole traditional life, getting marriage back on track is a pipe dream. And you might as well have prostitution legalized, at this point.
Then you have the kids coming out better instead of some of these neighborhoods. I don't know if you've been to them. Some of these neighborhoods, the kids are just outside 4 o'clock in the morning, shooting guns, selling drugs. And because I live in the South right now, selling drugs. And
Sorry for the popcorn noises, man. It's just so good.
You can't find a parent anywhere. I don't know. It'd be 20 dudes. I don't know whose parent. They just out there going crazy. And that, then it leads to the car break-ins in some neighborhoods. Even the good neighborhoods are getting car break-ins because they're unifying and organizing into crime. You know what I'm saying? So a lot of stuff will be solved if we funnel people into marriage through enforcing the laws against fornication.
I can't wait to hear other people.
So you don't think it's a good idea to legalize it?
No, absolutely not. Because I don't think it's like the root. It's the root of our problems, right?
Oh, we got Sexy Perspective in here, and
it's
Michael.
The root of our problems. It's the sexual liberation. It's the breaking of the family. I totally understand why people think it solves a lot, but the issue is when you legalize prostitution, it crashes the marriage market, and the marriage market is a foundation of any society. That's what we're not thinking about.
Gotcha. Sexy Perspective. What's going on?
Sexy Perspective.
What's your thoughts?
Gotta
unmute, probably. I'm gonna call you SP, by the way.
SP.
Oh man.
Are you there? I can barely hear you.
Let me forward this.
You going?
A Nintendo game, bro.
Go out and come back in. Go ahead. How are you?
Sick over the holidays.
Child,
the kids still get their Christmas.
I cooked all that week just
Let's
to
get to the
my
prostitution.
We have Jermaine and Michael here. Your husband has to come in to play Tito.
Is that America has become sort of I don't know if we're religious or not, because I like to bring religion into certain conversations, right? But I don't, America is becoming a Babylonian society, sort of like what Jermaine was saying. A lot of countries would not tolerate what we do here in America. They would go crazy. They would go crazy on site. We are not built to live under Sharia law like CC says. I don't want to mention her name because this is your platform, but you know what I mean by CC, right?
Yes, yeah, Crimson Cure. Gotcha.
Yeah. She said we're not built to live. She said we gonna one day go on under Sharia law, but we're not built to live under Sharia law. We would revolt against that. So it's not a good idea.
The society is really not built to live under any religious moral value system. It did start off as inspired and essentially rooted in Christian theology, and a lot of the laws reflected a biblical perspective. But what the United States holds as valuable is religious freedom, the ability to practice whatever religion you choose, and not be, persecuted for it. And that requires a secular government in order to make sure that, you can be a Jew, Christian, a Muslim, a Satanist, whatever the hell you want to be. You can do that here, but what you can't do is make everybody else have to follow those laws.
To legalize prostitution, but
which unfortunately is why Jermaine's viewpoint could never really come to fruition, because his would also require that the overall umbrella of legal system enforces a specific religion's moral value code.
I don't know what to say about America. America's becoming a Babylonian society. From LGBTQ to soon they gonna legalize molesting children, and
damn, he's far down the rabbit hole.
Soon they gonna legalize having sex with animals. It's just going crazy in this country. I don't know what to say about America.
I hear you.
Yeah.
Trey Ferg, what's going on, Trey?
We got Hustler and Muscular. Hell yeah.
We'll come back to
Hello.
Trey. Hey,
Can
Trey.
y'all hear me?
Yes.
Can you hear me? Hey, Happy New Year, everybody.
Happy New
Hope
Year.
everybody's year starting out. Listen, America ain't numbered one vote away from already having this happen anyway. We already sexual deviants growing up in America already. Everybody's into the sexual liberation, even the younger folk. That's why these young people got 10, 12, 15 bodies by the time they reach age 21. So everybody's already...
See, this man here sounds like a realist.
Over sex, it's going to bring, not only will it bring the value down of the woman, it's going to bring the value down of even the man, because men are going to participate in it, and it's going to be even younger, and they're going to be turned out even more. It's going to be an extra letter added on to the alphabet community after they do that, because they're going to experiment a little bit more. They're going to be doing a little bit more strenuous activities. It's probably going to be more and more people having, one male, three females, one male. It's going to be a whole bunch of extra added on there. And we already got a high sexual transmitted disease rate. What y'all think is going to happen? Ain't nobody using no condom?
I mean, ironically, I think if prostitution was legalized, then that kind of stuff could be regulated where it is required, especially with people having to get tested and stuff.
Out here raw dog getting just busting it open, so it's just going to get worse. The fact that that these conversations are had is one thing, but hell, people end up practicing this and wondering why they getting skinny and falling off, but they ain't gonna be able to connect 30 partners ago. You slept with somebody who had that package, and now here we are. The children are even going to be affected.
Let me say this, Miss Didi. Let me say this: the Morris Show wouldn't even be popular if we were to enforce marriage. But to be honest with you, America is not going to enforce marriage, because America wants people to have more babies out of wedlock. America's becoming a very wicked country, Didi, if you understand what I'm trying to say.
Mm-hmm.
So
we're currently at about 44% kids being born out of wedlock in the United States. I think it was around 20 to 25% in the 70s, and it was at about 5% in the 50s.
But there's reasons why that is so. One, economically, it doesn't make sense to have more married families. It doesn't make sense, because if you bring two people together, they're less likely to spend two incomes.
See, and that's what, when Jermaine was talking about wealth transfer and how marriage is good to help transfer wealth between generations, divorce is the fact that it's so easy to get divorced out here and that it happens so often is the number one intergenerational wealth killer, because it just gets all destroyed, and then you have two houses that you essentially got to pay for, where, you know, one of those house bills where, because now mom and dad aren't in the same house where it costs $3,000 for the bills. Now mom's over here, dad's here. They're each paying $3,000. That extra $3,000 could have been saved in the pot for Jimmy's college and, you know, helping Jimmy get his house when he gets married, and just all these other things that you can do when you can save up money. And it just ain't the case.
One is going to be invested in the family, and the other may be tied to taking care of the family's needs. So that's not going to ever be looked at.
Trey,
we
went
lost
out.
Trey. Damn it. Trey was keeping it real. He'll be back.
Trey, are you still there?
Say you don't need this, you don't need that. They're going to still will have sex with. Our young boys are growing up with a father in the home. They're not going out here creating reckless crimes, doing reckless stuff, filling up these jails. America, those that are in power would never force that. We just have to find a way to put that up on ourselves. That's what the message needs to be, because you see our numbers. We highest in the worst of categories. So we just got to be willing to sacrifice a few years of ourselves to focusing on the youth so they can live a better life. Because right now, hell, we're going to be at zero in everything at 2050. Because this shit is falling. It's like it's getting worse about a month, a day, or whatever. So, I don't know. That's a 21-year-old son. I'm talking to him every day. Like, do not have a baby out of wedlock, or you will be broke for a very long time. Find you a wife.
That's very true. I mean, I worked as a child support officer for 5 years, and that was my job. My job was to get people's money.
And he's a good guy, too. Good guy. So I don't know, man. Y'all figure it out. Help me figure it out.
I like this conversation so far. You guys go subscribe to DD Wood's channel. I'm about to do the same right now. There we go.
SP, you back? You want to chime in now?
Come on, sexy perspective. We
Add
need you.
to the conversation, should they legalize it or not? I think they should go ahead and let it go. Let it go and play out. Because that's what they want. It's already that way halfway already now. You got OnlyFans, but that ain't making no money no more like they wanted to. But I think they should go ahead and let it play out. Because right now, you got the average woman walking around like she worth something. Like she worth a dollar amount, and not a significance of a responsibility and duty amount. It's a difference between you put a dollar amount on yourself and a responsibility and duty amount. When we look at in our community, the women don't feel entitled to nothing but a dollar amount, and you can't, and that amount doesn't equivalent into a responsibility and a duty amount. Now,
guys, do me a favor, hit the like button if you're watching. That would help me out.
I know I'm emphasizing on that a lot, but I wanted to see it from that perspective, because even though we have women who want to be 304s, they also want to be 304s in a prostitute. So they out here to seek and deceive men that are willing to do it. So now that you make it come out, you know it's not a thing to just be saying, oh, because I'm a woman, you should do this for me. Because I'm a
See, you know, and I think what he's trying to point out, at least what I get, and this is what I think all the time, is that right now the problem is we live in the blurred lines where we have an old system and a new system that are like clashing with each other. And women have been able to take complete advantage of this, because what they can do is, on the one hand, they could leverage themselves to try to get money out of men, prostitute style. But then on the other hand, hide behind, well, I do also want the traditional stuff, and I want to, you know, whatever, all the old world type stuff. With legalized prostitution, it would unblur those lines. And it's like, you can do this the prostitute stuff, but you have to actually stamp yourself as a prostitute and do that. And then that's going to be that lane. And on this lane is going to be this side of things. And right now, the blurred lines and all this gray area stuff is what's creating the problem.
Now,
we got Mr. Pitt. Hey, Mr. Pitt, welcome in. Legalized adult services would benefit a few women in the sense that men that only want sex would leave the dating market quietly. Only men that are serious about relationships would remain. Yeah, I think when I think about it, I think there would be a greater impact on the men's side than the women's side. I think it would help the women on the one hand, because the guys who are constantly just hitting them up for sex, I'm sure that'll still exist to some extent, but the ones who are just like, can't get it anywhere else, and they're like, let me just try to get some hookup sex, will probably just go the prostitute route. And then they don't have to worry about getting hit up in their DMs all the time. But the men who absolutely can't get sex, that 30% or whatever the hell it is of guys that have no option, will at least have that as an outlet. So it would benefit them greatly on the other side. And I do think that the people who are then left in the dating market actually dating might at least have more serious intentions, because they don't have all this pent up energy at the very least.
Well, let's drop a contract. Are you legally able to do this? It's a legal bind in it now. So if it's legal, they can make it a business. You can ask, well, where's your card? Did they say you can do this? Or, well, if you want this, it's kind of take a little of the play out of the game. I think a lot of women just they are thinking that their coochie is worth money. Their box is worth money. That's what a lot of women think. But if you take that out and you have more professionals on the level and the access to that, and they know guys will just say, you know what? Before I pay for you, you're not even a professional at this. You're valuing your box based off your education and your what you think you are, and it don't have nothing to do with things we actually value. For right now, the women are setting the market. If we put prostitution on the market, then the market is set by the prostitution rate. Now we have more control over it. Right now, we have no control over it because there's no amount put on it, because there is no, because women think my body count don't matter, because they don't understand what it means to us that you have a low body count. And then they think, well, guys be like, well, I'm giving you good thing, you giving me, it's equal, but they like to deceive us for that. So I think legalizing it will just give the playing field a level play, and it will take a lot of the deceiving and the just because, and the whole more women will want to be able to obtain a man for his provider skill instead of him just being a number, because the man there will always be men that will just subscribe to just paying to play.
Because right back. I'm gonna turn my heater on.
Like they may not ever want to settle down and do nothing. They may just want to be the play to play. But whether it's to get a child or just get straight up sex, So I think that's my idea of it. I haven't heard a lot of people talk about it, but I think it will make the price go down actually for pussy. So yeah, I think it would be better for men. That way it won't be so. Cause it's already there. You can hire an escort. I mean, it's not like you can't just hit up. You can't. It's not like you can't go on. Go to the strip club and the chick is not gonna. Hey, if you talk to her, she will probably let you hit that thing for $250. You can.
Mr. Pitt says, on the other hand, a pain point for women would be that men would never endure sexless marriages. Sex could no longer be leveraged for compliance. Yeah, it's a very good point. I mean, that's the other side of it, because guys are in dead bedroom situations. And I think it's generally accepted, or a lot of guys report that once they get married, the frequency of sex goes down and all that kind of stuff. And once the woman's essentially gotten what she wanted, and, you know, if you're in a dead bedroom situation, well, shit, I mean, maybe after work you can stop by somewhere and at least have an outlet for that somewhere. So that's an option. But yeah, well, it's not just about him having the outlet. It's also about her knowing he has the outlet. So, you know, she would know that, like, he can get it relatively, I guess, like with this guy saying $250 somewhere, and that would be that.
Going back doors of these places. I've heard a dude saying they went back door and inside the club and fucked her, you know, so.
But regardless, because it's like, okay, yeah, I still think there's a value from bringing it from underground, which is what this guy is describing, and bringing it above ground to where it's legal. And it's just like, nobody wants to, like, the people who don't want it to make it legal are the ones who still want to live in this illusion that we live in some moral society. When we don't, our laws are fundamentally amoral. They're not even really rooted in any kind of religious tradition anymore, especially since no-fault divorce. But keeping prostitution illegal somehow helps people believe that we still live in some moral society when we really don't.
You know, so I mean, it's not like it's not there already. Like, that's not nothing that people are really not already doing now. But it will.
But, and it's like, it's there already, but it's like, do you really have to, like, want to look over your damn shoulder every time you're going to do some shit like that? I did a video on Trevor Bauer. He was like that baseball player that lost like a $200 million contract with the Dodgers because he had sex with some chick that was hollering at him on Instagram, and she totally, you know, pulled the Me Too on him, and it was all bullshit, and he was exonerated, but he still didn't get his contract back or whatever. But if prostitution was legal, that guy would have probably just been able to go to like a high-end brothel because he's like a rich baseball player, and the shit wouldn't have been a story. He would have still been on the Dodgers.
Make it more respectable and on a professional level. I think that's what. So I mean, we already got our high maintenance prostitutes out here. I want a Birkin bag. You know, I want a Birkin bag. You gotta take me.
I think he's talking about a sugar baby.
Pay my rent.
Yeah, I mean,
which is a prostitute. Sugar babies are prostitutes.
and they mentioned in that video too. It's already a loose form of prostitution already. So I don't know. Hustler, what's your thoughts on this, Hustler?
Do you know?
I'm just like, ciao.
What's going on, Didi?
What's going on, Hustler?
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you. What's your thoughts on all of this?
Legalizing sex work, well, that can go one of two ways. Number one, if we do legalize sex work, that means it's less trouble from the police in the event that we decide to solicit these women. You know,
yeah, you don't got to look over your shoulder
for their favors. You know, you don't got to worry about police being all up on your ass in the event that you get caught up doing some stuff like that. That's one thing that may come out of it. Another thing that may come out of it is, how should I say this? They're not going to be so low key, lack of discrepancy with it.
Mr. Pitt, recipe Trevor Bauer's career, all men pay. Shout out to CGA. Absolutely. I love Coach Greg Adams. Coach Greg Adams is, I think he's like the best streamer on freaking YouTube. But yeah, that's exactly right.
That's another thing that can come out of it. Lack of discrepancy. Just think about that. Back in the day, when women were doing this kind of stuff, they were low key with it. They kept it to themselves. They made sure to do as less as possible so they don't get caught up by the police, get caught up by really anybody. But by legalizing this stuff, now they're not going to be so low key with it. They can be taking their sexual work anywhere, to the schools, to the church, to the shopping centers, everywhere. Imagine your kids coming home from school seeing this kind of stuff. Imagine you going to work having to see this kind of stuff. So now you're going to be seeing it more so than you need to see it. Kind of like how they legalized marijuana some years ago. Yes, they can do it without getting caught by police, but now you got to do what they.
You already see sexual immorality and deviancy everywhere. It's everywhere. It's all over the media. Porn and OnlyFans is a thing. You know what I mean? Legalizing prostitution won't make that any worse than it already is. I do believe some prostitutes would become extremely powerful because you don't have just like your regular old brothel on the corner. What you have is you would have legalized prostitution combined with the power of social media. You know what I mean? And some of the best would have access to some of the richest men, which they kind of already do, but it would be like in front of our faces a little bit in that regard, in the sense that like, wow, you can actually see that this person's like really successful at it. Maybe similar to a porn star.
Inconvenience of having to smell that stuff knowing you don't deal with that kind of stuff. I mean, seriously, I had a neighbor that really smoked that stuff at least once a week, so I had to deal with the smell whenever I went to my backyard or went outside for any reason. So no discrepancy on anybody's part if they just had to make this legal. Same thing with the sex work. No discrepancy.
Another thing that I think is stupid is when people say legalizing prostitution would make men lazy. And it's like, no, it wouldn't, because if a guy was able to participate in that much legalized sex work, he'd have to make plenty of money to be able to purchase all those services. What makes men lazy is free porn. Free porn makes people lazy. So paid for services of any, I don't think would do that. Second of all, isn't the U.S. already the fattest nation? You know, it's like 7 out of 10 people here are either overweight or obese. Okay. And then it's like, I don't think that that's like legalizing. If anything, legalizing prostitution would make some guys get off the couch to get a fucking job so that they could partake of those services.
You got to see this stuff way often, more often than you really need to see it.
Mr. Pitt says legalized adult services could be regulated the same way adult entertainment is regulated. Only allowed in certain zones on certain websites. Yeah, I think it would probably be like, countries like Germany, where they'd have like a red light district. There are models to look at already. And, certain countries, I always just think of Germany, I guess, because it's in Europe and a relatively developed country. And in some places it's legal over there, and yeah, it's just not that big of a deal.
And I remember one young lady in the video mentioned that so many men are trying to compete for the same women, they'll be less violent. I don't know about all that, honestly. Because I'm noticing women competing for the same kind of man. If anything, I don't think men have the same tendency to just compete for the same kind of woman like that. Like, all of us in this panel want the bad chick. All of us in this panel want that one chick with the thick thighs and pretty toes and tattoo. I don't think all of us have that mindset. Because for some of us, it's just a convenience. It's not something we need. It's just a convenience. Now, I do have one question. If they legalize this stuff for real, does that mean stuff like OnlyFans gonna shut down, or when women gonna stop thirst trapping on the internet as a whole? I don't know. Anybody can answer that? Do y'all think women gonna stop thirst trapping on the internet to decide to legalize this stuff? Yes, no, maybe.
I don't know if women would stop thirst trapping, and listen, men are still gonna simp to some degree, but it's complicated as a channel I watch, and I can't remember if it was him. I think it was him, but it's just like, do men want porn or would they rather have sex? And I think anybody who's watching porn would rather be having sex. The only difference would be, obviously, if prostitution is legal, it would cost those men something. So maybe they would still partake of porn, which should be at a cheaper price to them. But at a certain level, they're going to want that. So both porn would exist and prostitution would exist. It might curtail some of the extremes where a guy ends up spending so much money on some parasocial relationship with an OF girl or something in favor of an escort.
No. No.
It's not gonna
no,
stop.
they won't. It's not going to stop.
No.
Go ahead, Ty.
So this is something that I thought about for a while. So back when I went to Germany.
Oh my God, he brings up Germany. Amazing.
The one noticeable thing that I noticed was like, because Germany is probably one of the richest companies per capita. I think even when, what was it? When, I forgot, was it Greece or something? When they hit like
they defaulted.
Economical depression, Germany was able to build them out. Well, the one thing that we do know is that Germany is, they built BMW, Volkswagen, and Mercedes-Benz, right?
Oh yeah,
but most importantly, they have legalized prostitution out there. And that was one of the noticeable things that I saw, which was really strange because my ex-wife, she was like, you need to go see it. I was like, all right, cool. And aside from it being legalized, the tax benefits are great to the country. So right now, how you see inflation and everything is going, that'll be more money pumped into the economy, which will, lower the interest rates and things like that. So there's a lot of tax benefits behind it as well, because in addition to that, whenever there's even an economical depression or economical recession, the sex market always thrives. So I think when you do things like in a controlled environment, such as when they legalize like drugs and prostitution, when you do it in a controlled way, you tend to have less crime as well. So, and
I could see that. I don't like how people will portray legalized prostitution as the same thing as allowing sex trafficking. I don't think anybody who would support legalized prostitution is saying that they're okay with sex trafficking. If anything, you can literally allocate the taxes that you'd be getting from the revenue of legalized prostitution and put that towards fighting sex trafficking. I think anybody agrees that that is something that should not be happening. And if it's, illegal, even, at the very least, decriminalize it. If it's illegal, it just forces it underground. And then that leads to probably more sex trafficking.
when I came back, because remember late night when we were younger, they would have all these infomercials, like these sex infomercials or whatever. When we were young, but they never showed nudity. But in Germany they did, and I was really surprised. I was like, oh, and I was looking at everybody, and everybody was like, okay, well, that's normal for us. I was like, oh,
dude, I remember that because I was born in France, and I didn't come here till I was, like 4.5, and I remember TV in France, and TV in France would have titties on it. That's just normal in Europe. It's not like it's just not a big deal.
I think America has been too sexually repressed.
Oh my God, what a freaking good point. The U.S. is a very strange place in the sense that, like, they will sell sexual liberation, but at the same time, when it comes to actual sex, they're very puritanical about it. This guy Ty really knows what he's talking about.
And I think what you're starting to see is a spillover. So the question is, one, there is a tax benefit to it. But then also, I think when sex is a little bit more open, maybe it wouldn't be busting out at the seams that it is now. But
exactly. Like, people are so freaking depraved because we make sex this really big deal. And if it just wasn't this fucking big deal, people would be less fucking creepy about it. You know what I mean? The Puritanism is really one of the biggest problems. And essentially what that takes us into is the stigmatization. The stigmatization of being sexual is the problem. And that manifests itself in many ways. It's not even just about calling the women sluts. It's about men feel like they can't call themselves masculine if they partake of something like this. Like, if no guy wants to admit to using prostitutes, because if they do, it's almost like saying I'm not a man or I'm not man enough. Like, the manhood of the masculinity is really associated with that. And that's why I feel like you just don't see guys, or a lot of guys, advocating for legalization the same way. And it takes a lot of, I guess, self-confidence in yourself to be able to admit to something like that. But on the one hand, it's like, if men are shamed for, indulging in their sexuality, then further downstream of that, the women who cater to men's sexuality in that ways and give it to them are then also shamed as sluts and all these kinds of things. So the stigmatization around sex is what creates a lot of this problem, and a lot of that's rooted in the puritanical ideas.
I also think that if they do it, women that's making the type of money on OnlyFans that they claim that they are, they won't make as much because they will be taxed at a higher rate.
They'll be taxed, and maybe guys wouldn't give them as much. Mr. Pitt says, I think legalization would eliminate sex trafficking in the same way legal alcohol virtually eliminated bootlegging. Damn, I gotta take the biggest piss because I've drank hella tea, but I'm gonna let this play.
And
brother,
actually,
kind of sucks because I want to hear this.
Let's look at those tax benefits or whatever.
Be right back.
It won't go to the poorest, the black, crazy neighborhood. It's gonna go to the rich, and there will be no benefit. It's just turning out a whole bunch of sexual deviant citizens. That money still ain't gonna come down and trickle down to the public school. And none of that. Just like the lotteries was supposed to do all of this. Ain't nothing changed. So if you just you just gonna create a whole bunch of sexual deviant children. Y'all
But
children and
we already
grandchildren
have
gonna
that.
be
We already
so,
have that. We already have that.
right. But it's not gonna give us a tax break. It ain't gonna get no poor
No, I
black
didn't.
folk no
I
tax
didn't.
break.
Stop. I did not say a tax break. I said it will pump more money into the economy. I didn't say a tax break, but in essence, if there's more money
Interest
in the
rate.
economy, interest rates would go down. So there
No.
might be a tax benefit to it. So we can't automatically dismiss when you get extra revenue into the economy. You can't automatically dismiss
that
that
felt
certain things are not going to
amazing.
trickle down. Maybe you might see it in a different form. Maybe you might see it in how much Social Security goes up. You may see it in other different like retirements. How much money you get for different I don't know, public assistance, free programs. You never know what that money will be allocated to. That is up to Congress to figure that out. But anyway, I don't want to get too political about it. But there is a tax benefit. I mean, I'm sorry. There's a tax benefit for the government and a revenue benefit for us as well.
Ty, can I ask you a question? Ty, can I ask you a question?
Yeah, go ahead.
At what cost? At what cost to these?
Somebody needs to. They got the stream playing in the background as they're participating in the discussion. Oh well.
United States would that be? And there's a reason why I'm saying this. Because with any action, there's unintended consequences and everything else like that. You know, would you agree that our sexual marketplace is already transactional? It's already, but not for all men, but a lot of men, specific men, right? Because women choose whatever the upper echelon is on the high end, and then they choose a certain amount of pookies and ray-rays on the low end, right? So a lot of men the women are having sex like banshees, for the most part. And select men are taking advantage of that. If you made United States at the federal level, you made that work legal, it would destroy the United States. Right? Because first of all, men would, just say, hey, listen, I don't have to deal with no women. I don't have to do anything. I don't need families. I could just pay $1 and I'm paying the chick to come do what she needs to do and leave. A certain majority of men will do that. And the problem is that a bunch of the transactional women who are already doing that trick and stuff, just think about how many more women will say, you know what, I don't need a relationship. Now I can get paid legally by selling it. Because a lot of them are already used to selling.
I don't know if you can blame, like a certain amount of men would partake of legalized prostitution services, but at the same time, I don't know if it's okay to put it on them for the reason they might not be having a family, because those are the guys that are kind of left out anyways. And the women aren't choosing them. So they just have this as an option where right now they have nothing. I mean, there might be some guys who are like, I'll just do this the whole time or whatever, but I don't think it's as significant as he's saying.
So what kind of United States do you think we're gonna have?
Well, let me say this.
Okay, go ahead.
Let me say this. I get what you're trying to say.
I'm not trying to say it. I'm saying it.
Okay, well, but my opinion differs a little bit. So
okay.
If it already happens in different parts of the world, right? And these parts of the world have lower crime rates. If you're talking about the destruction of the family, I think that's kind of where you're definitely going with it.
It's more than that.
Well, I think that's a part of it, though, right?
Yes, it is.
Right. So if that is a part of, that's already happening.
Well, yeah, but what's left of the family? I'm trying to say you want to eradicate it even more than it already is. But go ahead, finish.
Yeah, but even so, I don't think that. I think people are doing whatever they want to do, and they're doing it behind closed doors. So I don't think that would necessarily eradicate it when it's already in the toilet. So
well, let me. Okay, I hear where you're going with this. You don't think that there would be some creep of the amount of women and men who just go purely transactional without anything else?
Yeah, of course there will. But there are people that's already doing that now.
No. Besides the people who are already doing it, when you remove the barrier, you're trying to say the barrier doesn't stop people from actually doing it. Once it becomes legal, there's no barrier whatsoever.
Well, look at look at what we do have. We do have women that's having kids off of one night stands. What we do have is a broken down relationship, a broken marital structure and family structure in this company. I mean, this country. I don't think that there's anything by legalizing it that we're going
to make it worse.
No, I don't think so, because it's already bad, right?
No, that's not an answer, brother.
Yeah, but
I'm asking you, would it make a bad situation worse?
I don't think so.
Okay,
I don't think so,
I
I
don't think it would either. I mean, it could possibly help. If anything, guys who are out here just looking for hookup sex might choose to see a professional, and it might actually limit how many kids are born out of wedlock, because, you know, if they go see a professional, then no pregnancy occurs from that. I mean, ideally, versus in a hookup situation where that is more of a risk.
I think it's going to
where we differ. That's all. That's where we
differ. Because I think what's going to happen is that regardless of what, there are going to be a faction of men and women that always want something transactional, and there's going to be a faction of men and women that want something more sustainable. And if that's just going to be who you are. So instead of them doing it in the dark, let them do it in the light, and we can say, hi, we know who you are, so we don't have to shine a light. We don't have to deal with you. You're not covert. We know what it is. And then we have the other women that will actually like, no, I'm not about that life. This is what I'm looking for. I think that, personally, I think that's a much better system.
Well, let me ask you, where's those other women right now that men on these panels say they can't find? And we have the laws in place. They say they can't find those women, and the women are saying they can't find those men.
Those women are taking advantage of the gray area. You know what I mean? Because they can do this on the sly and try to have their foot in both worlds. Mr. Pitt says, I would imagine most professional women would be using IUDs and hormonal birth control. Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I mean, listen, if they got pregnant, it would probably limit their income. It would probably derail what they're doing. There would be women who probably try to trap men, because they could conceivably still get pregnant. I used to work at a child support agency, and I remember one of my coworkers, this lady, she told me about someone that came in. She worked on the case of someone who was a prostitute. And she said this lady came in, and for the kids she had all the information for these guys. So she was like a higher end escort, but it sounded like more like a sugar baby thing, where like the thing about sugar babying is like they will try to hide the prostitution behind a kind of mask of a relationship. But in that situation, the guy ends up telling more about himself to the woman. And so she came in with all the information on all these guys, and those guys had to pay child support. You know what I mean? Regardless of if she's a prostitute or not, nobody cares. And here's a tip for you. You know, one of the most important thing in child support is being able to locate people. And a lot of guys, just by giving just their cell phone number to the woman, that's how we find their whole identity. Just the cell phone number allows us from our office cubicle at the child support agency to work backwards and get the name, social security number, address, accounts, job information, all this stuff. So even if that prostitute didn't have their socials and stuff, if she just had their real phone numbers, we still would have got them. But yeah, so you can get baby trapped at any time. It's just ideally if you go to a professional, then hopefully they're a professional, and and then at the same time, it's like if you're partaking of someone's services, you know what I mean? It's just like they shouldn't know who the hell exactly you are. Maybe not, but you can still get baby trapped.
Well, I'm just saying. So we got this bad situation where our relationships are fractured anyway. Mm-hmm. So we have to do a certain amount of. I'm already married, so you have to do a certain amount of work to get the person you want. Okay. Now you remove that last barrier, especially for men.
You do a certain amount of work to get the person you want, but for how long? You know what I mean? At a certain point, 5 years in, the divorce happens. 10 years in, the divorce happens. And you see this with guys who have put in the work. You know what I mean? Like guys who are high up there, Tyrese Gibson put in the work, and look what happened to him. You know what I mean? That one guy who played Rick O'Connell in that movie The Mummy, Brendan Fraser, he got it pretty bad. Robin Williams got it pretty bad. The Black Power Ranger, was it the Red Power Ranger? The guy who jumped off the parking garage in Disney got it pretty bad. All those guys put in the work to get whoever, and then the problem is not the putting in the work part to get them, it's the keeping them there part, which is what you know the real problem is.
Where all they got to do is put some bucks on the table, and they don't have to deal with the horse shit and the Western world and the Western woman's thought process. You just go.
That sounds like a damn good deal to a lot of guys.
Go ahead and say, "Hey, honey, here's a $500 or $300. Here it is. I'm paying you to leave." Right? And so you think men ain't gonna jump on that?
Well, hold on, wait a minute.
The 30% of men who ain't getting laid right now because they're invisible to women, you don't think they're gonna jump on that?
Well, hold on. But first of all, if that is in her character, I don't care where you put her, whether the law is there or is not. That's what she's going to do. That's one. Secondly, it may give a release to the men that can't get women. So I don't think that really. I don't
hear that.
I personally don't think that's going to change the dynamics, because if you are 304, that's in your character. Whether you legal,
women are just 304s though.
But
there's always women who are 304 adjacent, right? I mean, let's face it.
But what can we do? Hold on, wait a minute.
Women have always bartered what's the most precious to them and what's the most precious to men since the beginning of time.
Right.
They always barter that. It's not always for money.
Well, and then the other problem is what they would call hoflation, which is the episode of It's Complicated that Dee Woods just reacted to earlier on the stream before the debate started. And it's about the fact that women, it's not like women aren't working and men are the only ones who are the providers. Women make plenty of money now, but they don't want to provide even 50-50, right? So men are asked to provide way more than they've ever had to provide before to look attractive to a normal woman who's someone that's working, because she doesn't want a guy that's on her level. She wants a guy above. And God forbid she finds a guy below her level because she doesn't want to be the one providing. So there's guys that are just kind of stuck in that. And yeah, some of them probably would use prostitution, but it's not as easy as he's making it seem, because the barrier to entry cost is higher than it's ever been.
But if that's what they want to do, regardless, my man, at the end of the day, that's what they're going to do. And there's nothing that you can do to change it. So the question now becomes, should it be legalized or should people be...
Okay, so you know where I stand, but let's let some other people talk. I got it.
And that guy, he's a married man. Sounds like he's probably been married happily for a while. He looks like an older gentleman. And he also probably comes just from a different time. Yeah, God bless him. He's probably a good man, and I'm sure his family's good, and he looks at this and he's like, this is crazy. You know what I mean? But the landscape has changed very significantly.
Yeah. I don't think it's just about a person's character, right? When you put people in a bad situation, they'll do some extreme things, or what they may originally think is extreme, to get out of it. For example, I don't give a damn about America, right? But as I got older and I had bills to pay and, had to get my own place and all this stuff like that, I talked to other older men and they're like, yo, I went to the military, I have this benefit. And I keep hearing all these benefits year after year after year about the military benefits and all this stuff. And I'm like, damn. Now, when I was looking back, when I was like 20, 26 and all that stuff like that, I was like, I would never fight for this country. This country treats us like crap, whatever. Now as I'm older, I'm looking at it like, damn, I wish I went to the military, right? Because of the struggle of
the GI Bill,
being a man, getting older, providing for yourself, being prepared to provide for a woman, being prepared to provide for a family. Now I'm considering fighting, possibly giving my life for a country that I don't care about, or I don't like because of my beliefs. Now I'm considering that. So when we're talking about men who already have that work ethic in them, willing to risk it all, right, for the money, for the benefits, if you put that in the lap of women, it's going to be much more women than you think going into that type of lifestyle.
He's basically taking away agency from the women at this point and saying that they don't have the choice, and that's why they're there. But, that's kind of opposed to the viewpoint of feminism that's giving women the agency. The women are saying we want to be able to make the choice, and they're making the choice to do these things. And I know, some people I'm sure are there because they have been bullied into being there and trafficked into being there. And that's a horrible thing. But, maybe he's basically saying, I don't know, if men had more to offer in that way, maybe women would choose them. But that doesn't square with the idea of a hoflation in itself.
You understand? You understand what I'm saying?
I do understand what you're saying, and what I personally think would happen, I think that you might see a surge of people trying to do it, but then it eventually taper off. Because what tends to happen is when you introduce something new, there's always an inflated, like the value inflates until it tapers off. But if this is the mindset of most women, because let's be honest, right? When we're out here in the market, we understand, particularly like let's just speak facts here. About 75% of black women are not wives, right? And only about 25% of them are, because those 1 in 4 gets married in a lifetime, right?
About 44% of kids born in the U.S. are out of wedlock, and I think in the black community specifically, it's about 70% of kids born in the black community are born out of wedlock. So that would make sense with aren't wives, what he's saying. Oh, shoot.
I think it's much better to understand who you are dealing with versus then to be in a situation where you think you love this person and all of a sudden this is a part of a person's culture. Because a part of a person's character. Because I personally know a lot of women that can't even understand why so many women are just sleeping with every random guy. So if you give them the opportunity to expose themselves, they might say, okay, maybe I tried this, maybe it's not for me. Or these women are over there and I'm over here. And that will give the men that are ready to be husbands to find the type of women that they want. And that's what I personally believe, because it's like at the end of the day, who a person is, no matter what, particularly when you're married to them, it's going to come out. And I'm a little tired of seeing men in financial ruin because they got some undercover woman with a agenda that you never saw coming. So,
the other whole problem with this is they're saying that, like, oh, it's going to hurt the marriage market if prostitution's legalized, but prostitution isn't even the issue with the marriage market. The issue with the marriage market is the divorce laws. And the reason divorces were so low prior to no-fault divorce was because the laws were not crafted to help facilitate divorce. The laws were crafted to prevent divorce from happening, right? Because someone had to commit an injury on the other party in order for the court to even approve a divorce. So either, there was cruelty and abuse, somebody cheated, it was abandonment, maybe, just certain things like that. And if that was proven in court, the party that did the injury didn't have the same amount of claim on the marital assets. So if you cheated on your spouse, whether man or woman did it, you're not getting 50% of the house. You're not getting first dibs on custody. But then it changed to no-fault divorce. And no-fault divorce, regardless of prostitution, that doesn't have any effect on this. It's just what allows people to just leave marriages like it's nothing, and then everything's 50-50, and men are expected to be the providers. It's a crap deal for men, and people can have 1 foot in, 1 foot out. They can just leave, and that messes up the dating market, because it's supposed to be when two people get married, they're not on the dating market anymore, and then the people who are playing musical chairs out there still have a better chance of fighting each other. Now people get married, then they get divorced, then they're back on the dating market, then they get married again, and they're back on the dating market, and it's just like there's this constant revolving door of in and out, and that's messing things up way more than anything. It's the marriage and divorce laws that are the real problem for why marriage is failing. It's not because of prostitution.
So if this is what they want to do, then by all means let them do it, and then at the same time the country can benefit off of it, as opposed to the country benefiting off of getting divorced and raking men through the coal. That's
I
how
told
I.
you, I remember one day. I
That
remember one day when I was in class one day. For stop me if I already told you the story before. I remember one day we found out this certain friend of mine he had children. Well, we didn't. We thought he was married.
hmm
So we said, you was married before because you had children. He said no. And why you say you not married? Because marriage ain't nothing but a check. And that's essentially what Ty is trying to say. Or Ty is trying to say is that marriage is a check in America. In America, it's a check because we don't value America. We don't value the covenant of America. We don't value the covenant of marriage in America. So America has destroyed the covenant of marriage.
Yes.
And that's the reason why. That's the reason why they're coming out with laws like these now because they.
Marriage was destroyed. Marriage went from a moral system to an amoral system when no-fault divorce occurred. It used to be a moral contract. You know, there was punishment if you breached the contract for either party. When it went to no-fault, that just completely marriage was lost in 1969. Like the fact that anybody talks about it today and professes to have advice is it's BS.
I understand because they can't keep certain things together anymore. Go ahead.
No, look what they're doing though, because you got men leaving at droves. You also this is the first time in history where women 30 and under don't have kids. And what they're doing, there's an attack on men, and they are forcing men to leave the country to find wives. Right? It's not like a lot of men don't want to be married.
The men leave the country to find wives, but they can't bring them back here. If they bring them back here on a long enough time, the corrosive acid that is our culture will destroy that marriage. And, you know, I used to work at the child support agency. Man, a lot of the passport bros don't know this, but I remember seeing a case where the guy worked here and he had a wife and child in the Philippines. And I swear to God, that woman in the Philippines called up our child support agency in California, and we got her a child support order with California's guideline. And we were sending the payment straight over to her. We did international cases straight over to her in the Philippines, and she was getting American dollars from this guy here. It's just that a lot of people in, you know, Thailand or wherever don't know that we would do that for them. All they have to do is contact our office directly, and they could benefit from our system and how we do that. The other thing that's a ticking time bomb is if he brings the woman here and then she becomes a citizen, and then I remember my coworker told me about this case where he saw lifetime alimony. This was in California. And I think it was like a Marine or somebody, and this guy, he married a Filipino woman also, I think it was. And he brought her here, and when they got divorced, the judge was like, well, you brought her here and she can't take care of herself. I think she could still not really speak the language that well. And then he ordered lifetime alimony because that guy brought her here. So bringing him here is a ticking time bomb also. I mean, that's just, there's no real long-term solution here. If you're going to go over there and live there, then that's one thing, you know.
Look at the quality of the product that we have to select from. So like it's staggering that like, the numbers show that men, it's not even that they can't date. They don't want to date. And women have never experienced this. Men are not checking for women out here anymore. And it's actually pretty sad. So it's like at the end of the day, whether you legalize it or not, the state of affairs when it comes to the family dynamics in America, it's just a very sad prospect.
And prostitution has no bearing on this current situation. Whether or not prostitution's illegal or not illegal has no bearing on this situation. What has bearing on this situation is the marriage laws and the family laws and the child support laws. Those are the things that need to be adjusted and overhauled in order to help ameliorate the situation. It won't put us back to being traditional, but it will at least make it not unfair, right? So prostitution has no bearing over whether this gets better or not better. It might as well just be legalized.
Because now, if you live in like a state like I do, you kind of get to see like different cultures come through. Because I live in New York, so I lived in a melting pot. So I get to interact with women from different cultures quite often. So my experiences are a little different than experiences of the rest of the country. But at the same time, so like for instance, I met an African girl like a couple of weeks ago. I never thought that I would date an African woman in my life, but the way she had engaged with me was so radically different. So I said, "Oh, so it's not all black women. It's just black women in America." Because those women, I mean, she was smart, easy to talk to.
That is true. Of the women I've dated, the ones that were I have dated a couple women that were from different countries. One from Colombia and one from Brazil, and I swear to God, it is like a night and day difference. It's just they were just I don't know. It's like they were. It was very pleasant, and it was way more respectful. I felt like my time was a lot more respected. You know, I've dated plenty of American women, and you know, there's some cool chicks or whatever. But I did notice a very very big difference.
And you know, just like nurturing, caring, like all the bells and whistles that most men want. So whether they legalize it or not over here, men are not checking for them. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Ty, America has a Jezebel spirit in it. I don't know if you know it or not.
Yeah.
America has that feminist spirit in it. It's not just black women in America. It's white women, Asian women, all sorts of women in America Pacific, in the Western world Pacific. So there's white men who complain to Philip Scott every day on his YouTube channel and write him talking about we go through it too. And it's white men in the Western world. They be honest with you, white men are the original passport bros.
Oh yeah.
So,
Hey, listen, men have been traveling to get women since biblical times. There is nothing new about that. It's just that they have a problem when we do it, right? So, but the thing about it is, in my personal experiences, what I see.
See, that's the funniest thing too. It's like when a rich guy hires an escort, that's just normal. Like nobody cares. They're supposed to be doing that. But when the rest of us normal poor dudes do it, the average guy does it, it's a problem. You know what I mean? And it's just this weird thing I notice.
Is that other races do go through it in America, but there are some races that go through it less than what the black race does, right? Because if you just look at the marriage rates, even the next lowest married woman is white women, and that's still twice high than black women. But once you start to get to Latin women, when you get to Asian women, when you get to like Indian women, it goes up. Like
I think the reason that is because the black community has been the target of different policies that have perpetuated this onto them. And honestly, really the issue is the overall government and society tried to contain these things within the black community, and they created these laws specifically to police the black community, and rather harshly so. What they didn't count on was all of that stuff seeping out of the community and affecting everything else. You know, they created these repressive child support laws and systems and these welfare policies that incentivize people to take birth control in order to curtail the amount of kids coming out of that community so they would spend less welfare money. And that in itself seeded the feminist culture to really expand in the manifestation that we have it as today. You know, so that's why it's so high and those problems are so prevalent in the black community. And that's why it's also grown in all the other communities around it.
I was talking to one of my friends, she's Indian, and she was like, my marriage was arranged. And she was just like, but I love my husband to death. He's like the best guy. But the reason why, she was like, my parents understood the type of person that I wanted or the type of person that I am, and they select the right man for me. And I love my husband dearly. And the thing about it is, it's like, because if mom and dad is not involved in the process oftentimes, then you're doomed to make a bunch of mistakes. I mean, you're bound to make a bunch of mistakes. Like, you know, like when if I brought somebody home and my father saw, they were like, if you don't get that trash bag girl out of my goddamn house, right? So,
one more thing though, brother, right? And real quick, Didi, how you doing? Happy New Year. Just real quick. The one thing you're saying is that you want to remove the last barrier that we have, okay? The cultural barriers dead, the religious barriers dead, all the social mores that hold people to some kind of accountability is dead. So the last one is the law, and you want to remove that too. I mean, this place will be. It's just gonna. It'll backfire with the unintended consequences that we're not talking about here, because it sounds like you're spinning a good thought of how that might work, but it's only a thought on how it might work.
Keeping prostitution illegal only serves to give the religious conservative tradcons the illusion that we still live in a society that's headed by God and not a godless society. But the hypocritical part about that is they've allowed everything else to unravel, you know, from marriage to everything else. Yet if they sit there and hang their hat on keeping prostitution illegal, they can basically morally virtue signal that they're doing something, even though marriage is already, you know, got ran over by a bus. So it's not about saying prostitution's great. It's just about it might as well not be illegal at this point.
Well, all this is theory because it's never been done. But the only thing that I can say, we do have a point of reference in other societies where it does happen.
Them to America. You can't compare.
Okay. Well, I can say this then. This is what I can definitely say. At the end of the day, whether America is going to implode is going to be either it's going to happen at a slow pace or it's going to happen at a faster pace, because it's all.
I'll give you that one.
Right? Because it's kind of already happening, my man. You know, it's like we're not delusional. This is the reason why podcasts like this exist, because it's crazy out here right now, right? So it doesn't even matter. We just basically what you're saying, and I could kind of agree. It's just a damn what we have going on right now. It's just slow. Yeah.
I don't know if you were here for the opening when I started, where I give an alternative. Mm-hmm. So my alternative was to use laws.
Mr. Pitt says, Tradcons will eventually cave on this issue like they caved on everything else. They will. They have no choice but to. The Tradcons are essentially just moral virtue signalers, you know? And I call them cosplayers. Like, they're just cosplaying as traditional, but they're not really traditional. We don't live in a society that creates true traditional people. And this is why you see their marriages failing all the time also. It's like, they can't even live the lives that they're preaching that they're living. You know what I mean? So they will cave on it. They will. Like, and it's just like a Tradcon can never be like, we'll help legalize prostitution, because it's so opposite to the religious beliefs that they profess. But I don't know. To be honest, the only way I see that getting legalized is you have to have the buy-in of the women. If your sell is going to be, well, there's lonely men that need access, nobody's going to give a damn. But if you sell it in more of a, this is giving women a greater empowerment and control over their bodies, then it could work, you know. Then you might even have the Tradcon women on board. But other than that, it's the only way.
We have in the books already that are actually against fornication instead of going all the way into prostitution. Right?
See, this guy wants laws on the books that are against fornication. And you can have laws that are against fornication, but that goes against a woman or even a man's fundamental human rights to choose how to procreate how they want. That goes against how our society views ideas like consent. You know what I mean? Before hookup culture, it used to be you two stood at the altar and you both said, I do, and everybody witnessed it, and that was the consent. Now with no-fault divorce and hookup culture and all that, consent and the idea and how we view consent is just so radically different. We haven't even got it figured out yet. But the fact is that someone can revoke consent, right? Divorce used to not be allowed back in the day. And then it used to be very difficult to obtain back in at-fault days. Now you could just revoke consent, tomorrow and be at the family law court, on Monday. I used to work here at the child support office, and across the street from the child support agency over here in Sacramento is William Ridgway Courthouse. And when I had to go into that courthouse across the street, because sometimes I'd have to actually work in the court as the families were there and the commissioner was putting out these orders. And then I'd have to talk to them afterwards, tell them what to expect from our agency. Right by the metal detectors, if you look in the hallway, there is a sign that says home of the original one-day divorce. And back when I worked there, I was like, what does that even mean? Like, why would they say that? Why are they talking about divorce like it's a freaking Big Mac or a Whopper? Like, what do they mean, home of the original one-day divorce? And then when I read the history, what I realized that California was the first place to actually pass no-fault divorce in 1969 when Governor Ronald Reagan passed it and signed it into, play here. And then it spread to other states and all that. But and that was in Sacramento, where the capital of California is, right? So what they were back then to get divorced, it's a very laborious process because you had to prove one or the other party did something wrong, and there'd be a trial and this and all these things. So when it passed, it was a positive because it's like you can come in here and get divorced in one day. You could be free in one day. And I was like, what the hell does that even mean? So anyways, yeah, this guy talking about let's make laws that govern fornication, it just can't happen. The culture has changed too much. You would have to take away rights from women and even men to be able to do that. And it's just so far against what American culture represents and the ideals of freedom, how we view freedom nowadays, the freedom to do whatever the hell you want instead of freedom from oppression, freedom from, the British colonists and all that kind of stuff. Freedom from the British church telling Christians here how to practice. Freedom used to mean these different things, but now freedom means something different.
Right? Because if conservatism is what kept this country together, and then after the liberalism came in is when we started to go down. I was like, we shouldn't delve more into it, right? Like if we gave people a lot of less access to fornication that includes toys and videos and sleeping around with people, even women would be funneled into marriage, right? And marriage.
Well, yeah, because they would have no choice and they would go to jail. If anybody went into hookup culture, they'd go into jail. But it's like, how are you going to sell that to people?
Is the foundation of a society, and you have a much more financial security. It's the fastest way to wealth. What we're kind of doing with prostitution is we're giving individuals money, but not really wealth, right? And what we do is we separate ourselves from the elite and the government more, giving them more power over us by not having citizens with wealth as well, too, right? So I was also talking about where you said it would taper off. The thing about tapering off is this: we already have a problem with dating 304s, right? Now we're talking about flooding that market of that 304 market, right? And then having them say, nah, that was good. Now you have men looking at them like, damn. Most of the women, you can say a lot of the women we come by now.
It would not flood the market of 304s. The 304s are already there. All it would do is bring them from underground to above ground. And it would actually be better because the women would have to put their money where the mouth is. They can't exist in this blurred lines of I'm traditional, on Monday, but I'm a whore on Saturday night. They would have to stamp themselves as I am a whore. I'm a prostitute. They would have to actually take on the damn label of it. And that would put them firmly into one lane as opposed to being able to walk back and forth through this revolving door of being traditional or being, a prostitute or whatever. So it's not like it's just going to, it's okay now. Everybody who was a virgin good girl that got married could suddenly become a prostitute. They're already doing that. It would just put it on the books.
Or pros. But when I was saying, dang, like every woman I come across was a 304 that's coming back to the market, I don't want to date those type of women because you know how men feel about women with body count.
Sure.
So I was saying, if we do enforce the laws of fornication against fornication, what you also do is document women. That's the closest thing we can come to a body count. Because if you're documenting them saying, listen, the same way I Googled a man's past to see if he was a predator, Now I can Google a woman to see if she has done this in her past. Now you have a lot more men sure of the woman they're marrying.
Jermaine, before you go any further, what you're saying is absolutely worse than what Ty is saying. Can you?
And it's just like, okay, if we went with his method, it doesn't guarantee a marriage that works, because the issue with marriages being broken up has nothing to do with prostitution. Even women who marry as virgins, you know what I mean? Steven Crowder is going through a divorce. They were both virgins when they got married. It's just, this wouldn't be the solution that he thinks it's going to be.
You can't make having men and women have sex illegal.
There you go.
No. It's on the books. It's not sex.
No.
Nah, not the way you're saying it. You might as well put a
I'm so glad they called them out.
chastity belt on them.
What book are you talking about? The Bible?
No, fornication is on the books. It's in American law. I got this from an actual police officer. Having a conversation with an actual police officer, that there's a bunch of laws on the books that we do not enforce.
There used to be a bunch of laws, way back in the day. And it's just like back then in at-fault divorce times, if you were caught cheating, the court and the judge would actually take that into their judgment and how they would divide up marital assets or grant a divorce. And so that, to some extent, if adultery, he's just talking about adultery, and adultery was a law because it did have legal ramifications back then. So he's saying there's a bunch of antiquated old laws that still exist, on the bottom of the pyramid that is our legal framework, and that we could revive those in a way and bring them back to the surface to use them. But the problem with that is that it goes fundamentally against how we view human rights and freedom. The Cool Toad vlogs and Smurfette kissing in a tree, KISSING.
He actually said,
welcome in, man. Cool profile picture.
One of them was, if you Google it, you actually see it too. There was a court case about it.
I think that's
about fornication.
Well, personally, I think that's who's going to be enforced, men or women or both. Because if it's both, I'm going to be like, that's a hell no. Secondly, I think it's more likely one start of the process, I think, would be to get rid of no-fault divorce. That's the first start, right?
We need to revoke some of these laws that these Democrats don't put on the paper about no fault divorce. A woman can just say, well, I'm not happy no more. I'm just gonna walk out of the marriage and then take half of what you got.
The tradcons generally put forth the idea that, like, we have to get rid of no fault divorce and go back to at fault divorce. What that would do, that would not. There were problems with at fault divorce that led to the creation of no fault divorce in the first place, and one of those was that the desire for couples to get divorced was increasing, and the courthouses were never designed to deal with that many divorce cases going at once. But what enabled this also was something called collusion. So if you go back to before no fault times, what they were seeing a lot of is that couples were pushing through their divorces through the courts by basically coming up with the deal that one of them would take on fault even though they didn't actually do anything. So you would see the husband and his attorney colluding with the wife and his attorney to say, let's just write down that I did something or that you did something so we can get this passed through. And you would also see attorneys and judges colluding to do that. It was just extra steps for the same thing. So if you got rid of no fault divorce, a lot of those same problems would still happen in the first place. A better solution isn't to get rid of no fault divorce, because you can't. Again, this goes fundamentally back into a consent issue. Because you can still be legally married to someone and they're just like, screw it, I'm just going to go live in New York because obviously I don't like you anymore. I don't want to be here. You can't physically stop me from leaving, or I'm not going to have sex with you. And there's nothing you can do about it. So my solution would be allow no fault divorce to exist, but have it in the law that if someone chooses to leave the marriage because they're sick of it, they have to forfeit their claim on the marital assets. So you can leave. Therefore, we're not violating the sacred rules of consent as we view them today. Like, okay, this person doesn't want to be here. They want to leave. But by leaving, you're giving up your claim on the property of the marriage. You're giving up your first dibs on custody. You're saying, I don't want alimony. And I'm not going to take half of your retirement, but at least let me go. that should be the way it is. That would be something that matches how men and women, view consent now.
There's this one story about this white guy. His wife cheated on him with a younger man, and he divorced her, and now he got to pay her alimony. He got on the Philip Scott show said that marriage is a horrible thing for a man, especially if you got a DICTK. So a marriage,
it is, and back in the day during at fault, if that woman who doesn't bring any money to the house, if she cheated on the man, the courts would say, oh, wow, you guys would have a trial. And this is why gossip and things really matter. And like back then, they used to hire private investigators. You get the guy with a photograph, and they'd run into court and be like, oh my God, here's a photograph of her coming out of this guy's door at like 2 a.m. And we have it, we got the documents, and the court would be like, oh, and then the jury would be like, oh my God, she was at fault. She violated it. And then the judge would be like, okay, shit, there's evidence. Yeah, I'm going to grant the divorce. Lady, you don't get anything because you committed this moral breach here, this breach of the marriage contract. And likewise for the guy too, you know what I mean? Like if there was evidence that the guy cheated, then like, yeah, you're out. Continue to pay maintenance. She gets to live in the house and have custody of the kids. You're out of here. And it was more fair that way.
We need to revoke some of these laws that these Democrats don't put on the table for marriage. So,
not everybody.
And he has to ask himself, okay, so it was Ronald Reagan ended up becoming a conservative. He ended up becoming the face of the TradCons when he became president. But prior to his presidency, he was actually a Democrat. So when he was governor of California, he was a Democrat. And it was when he was governor of California that he signed in no-fault divorce. Okay, but if these Democrats put in no-fault divorce, why is it that no-fault divorce spread all over the country into these different states that are conservative and Democratic-minded alike? So you have to ask, what problem were they trying to solve?
Everybody's married, so even having a child out of wedlock is detrimental to the growth and wealth of the Black community because, one, you're losing money as a man, and if you're not if you don't have the ability or the capability or the access to your child on a daily basis, your daughters are more likely to end up on a stripper pole. We see it. Most of these women can tell you, I didn't have a father. They may have had a relationship with the mother, but they didn't have a father. So we just have to allocate for the laws to be changed where automatically, upon proving that I am the DNA biological father, that we automatically get joint custody. But most of us don't follow.
So let me tell you, I was a child support officer, and I used to do the swabs in people's cheeks and babies' cheeks and the mom and the dad's cheeks, and we'd send it off to the lab, and we'd figure out who the dad was. And this, first of all, paternity tests weren't even the thing till the mid-90s. So we have years and years of family laws that are on the books that have all been created and been used in the world where we didn't even have genetic tests. So that's why things are really like weird. Again, we live in this gray area. But you can't automatically give somebody custody just because they're proven to be the dad. It's all about cohabitation and it's about history. So if two parties were married and the norm for the child is that they lived with both mom and dad, then I can see a 50-50 blanket custody agreement being given. But if mom, was in Texas for a business meeting or whatever, or dad was there and these two hooked up because they met at the hotel bar and she got pregnant and she went to New York and he went back to, wherever the hell he's from, California, and turns out she got pregnant and kept the kid. And now the kid's 3 and the child support agency's finally caught up with the dad. So now we've done a paternity test on this guy and said, all right, you're the dad, start paying. This baby has never seen this dad one day of its life. So to be like, oh, it's 50-50 custody now, get over here from New York and come see your dad. I think the dad still has to go to the courts and actually say, hey, I want custody and here's my situation. I have a safe household for this kid and I can prove that. And there should be some steps leading up to that instead of just a blanket 50-50 in that situation. Because this kid's like, who the hell is this guy, right? What we should have, though, is taxpayer-funded custody hearings. because child support's already taxpayer funded. You know, someone could walk into a child support agency and they don't got to pay a damn dime out of their pockets, and they'll get a child support order and they'll have the order enforced. Where if you're trying to get custody, you got to go to the actual courthouse where it goes from public family law to private family law, and then you have to pay to file a petition for the courts to hear custody. Then you have to pay to get them served, probably have to hire an attorney and pay them too, and go through all this stuff. I think if we valued fathers being in children's lives, we should at least make that process free for them. So then the court can look case by case and say, okay, oh shit, I got popcorn coming out of my mouth. The court can look case by case and say, all right, you know, there's a pathway there that doesn't bankrupt the dad or doesn't stop the dad from giving up because he's already paying child support and he can't afford to fight for custody at the same time.
But only way you can do that, you have to start it doing it individually, going into that process. You have to say, okay, I have a child on the way coming. Let me follow the legal process. It don't cost no money. You just gotta, you know, maybe $150. You could spend $150 on buying a damn ugly ass T-shirt. So take that time early in the baby's life. So now going forward after the baby's 6-8 months, you can actually benefit financially over the next 18 years. But if you don't allocate for that as an individual, the country will never look at us as a group and say, yeah, let's do it for the brother. No, because we ain't fighting for ourselves in that capacity. So we can eliminate this already.
Well, I think you got a good point, because the first step, I think they should eliminate no fault divorce, right? Then the second step, I think that they should eliminate like once you get I think they should kind of like remove themselves a little bit from child support, meaning once you find out if you're the biological parent, right, or if you're married already, right, automatically you should not get child support if the person wants to have 50-50 custody. That's how it should work, because if I have them 50% of the time, you have them 50% of the time, then there's no reason for you to receive child support, because we have equal share in that kid's expenses, right?
Man, that was one of the things people would always get pissed off about. So when I worked at a child support agency, whenever it was 50-50 custody, they'd always be like, why do I have to pay? I have the kid half the time. Doesn't make any sense. And the way the laws are set up is whoever makes more money pays into the household that makes less money. And the bullshit excuse that they would give is, well, we want to maintain a similar standard of living in between the households. So when the kid goes back and forth, there's not like this shock of like dad's rich and mom's poor. But it's all bullshit. I'll tell you why. The entire child support system was created as a response to the welfare system. So when welfare was created, Social Security Act, after World War II or whatever, there were a lot of widows, moms with kids, because their husbands had died in the war. So they created Social Security to help out these ladies that obviously needed help taking care of these kids because their husbands died defending the country. And that was fine. And then in like the 70s, when they looked at the welfare caseload, they realized most of the ladies that were receiving welfare money for their kids actually had, the fathers were still alive. Like they weren't widows. And the majority of these women had men still alive. So they created the child support system in order to recoup the tax dollars that they are paying out through the welfare system. And when child support first started, they were only tasked with going after dads that had kids that were on welfare. They didn't service cases for non-welfare cases. So if these men have 50-50 custody and mom's on welfare, because a mom can get welfare benefits for the kid if it's 50-50 custody, then the state doesn't get the tax money back. See? So if we instituted this and 50-50 means no child support, the state would not get the damn tax money back for the welfare that it's expending. And then the state has even less incentive to make it easier for guys to get custody, because it would bring their child support amounts down anyways, and that would be less money they're getting back that's being expended on welfare's behalf. So it's all money driven.
Most importantly, once that happens.
Meanwhile, if the fathers have to keep paying in order to have custody hearings, that money goes back into the state as well because they're paying the state system. It's just crazy.
And then you get rid of no default. Women are going to think twice about leaving and getting married if they're really not into it. Because what we're seeing now is women will get married, cheat on you, have a kid by somebody else,
and you still
then
gotta pay.
divorce you, and then take everything you have. That's fucking sheer lunacy.
Now, he missed the most egregious part of that. In California, if you're married and you have a kid, and let's say it's year 5 now, you guys have been married for 5 years and the kid's 3, and all of a sudden she's like, I don't like you anymore, we're getting the hell out of here. You guys are getting divorced. And she's like, you know what? I was actually sleeping with my ex the whole fucking time. You suck in bed. And then you're like, what the fuck? And you find out, you do a private genetic test and you find out the kid's not yours. The laws on the books in California say if you have not filed and served the other party to challenge paternity before the kid's birthday, age 2, you can't undo paternity, regardless of if you're bio dad or not bio dad. So I used to see that happen all the time because, you know, most time when these divorces are happening, it's like 3 to 5 years in, you know, they got the one kid and then there's this and then there's that. And then it's just like, too bad, you got to pay. And they're like, it's not my kid. And it's like, too bad. That's what the law says. Too bad. And in fact, it was better to not be married. And it was better to not have been at the hospital and signed paperwork. Because now if there's a problem, you and your girlfriend aren't together anymore, and then you find out the kid's not yours, you were never legally the father, and then you can be like, well, I mean, I want the genetic test, and then you might have a way out that way. And even if you got the paperwork filed and served before the kid's 2, it doesn't guarantee they're going to undo paternity. Because the judge is going to look at it, and they're going to be like, okay, so you've been in this kid's life since the beginning. You bought diapers. You did all this stuff. All right, cool. Yeah, kid's been saying his first words around you. And they're like, all right, Mom, well, so who is the dad? And she's like, I don't know. I mean, I had a one-night stand with this guy in Vacaville. It was at a Halloween party. I don't know his name. I don't know who he is. So the judge is going to look at you. He's going to look at the kid. He's going to look at Mom. He's going to be like, okay, so if I take away paternity from this guy, there's no other guy we can actually put paternity on. And the judge might make the decision that it's in the child's best interest to keep you as the father. So even if you got the paperwork served and filed in time, it's not a guarantee you're going to undo the paternity. And that's just the way it works now. What needs to happen is that fathers, if you're a father and you find out the kid's not biologically yours, you should be given first right to dissolve paternity status. That's what would bring some accountability on women, because we have genetic tests now. It's like, all right, lady, go find the guy and we'll genetic test him and we'll put him on child support. Oh, he's in prison? Well, then you're going to have $0 from child support, but at least we know who the dad is. You know what I mean? And that's just it. That's some accountability.
Right? Because you could be a good man, because how many times do we hear good... do you know how many men that I know that are good men and have been good men, were providers, they got divorced all because, oh, I'm not happy, I'm just going to leave. And
man, I've seen that so many times. I've read thousands of divorce orders, and I've talked to thousands of couples in my last job, and I saw that, and it's a damn shame.
Then they take him for everything he has, and then he has to pay this ridiculous child support. If you are married and the woman wants to get divorced, go back to like how they used to do it. The kids automatically stay with the dad. And then see how they feel about it. Because right now they're incentivizing women to leave marriages just so they can get a payday.
Marriage is the contract has been neutered. Since no fault divorce, there's not much in it. And I don't even want to say there's not much in it for the guy. There's not much in it for the provider. Whoever takes on the masculine provider role, it's not wise to sign the marriage contract. It used to be an actual contract where if one party or the other party breached the terms of the contract, there would be punishment and there would be protections for whoever the injury was caused to. But nowadays it's not like that. And if you're a guy and you really ask yourself, like, what benefits is there from the marriage contract? You got to remember, I mentioned earlier that genetic tests were not even a thing until the mid-90s. We did not have cheap and accessible genetic tests till the mid-90s. So what benefit did marriage give a guy? Marriage was supposed to be the institution that helped a guy understand and be able to at least say somewhat confidently that the children of this marriage are my children. These are my paternal children. I am the father of these children because we took a vow in front of everybody. We're all like, we're only going to have sex with each other. All right, you guys be cool now. All right. We all said I do. We all ate the cake. And the kids that came from this marriage are my children. And that matters because of private property, all right? You have private property, you have accumulated wealth. You want to make sure that these are your children so you can pass on that wealth, okay? But nowadays, do you really need to get married to know who your kid is? No, because we have genetic tests. So one of the whole damn points of marriage for men to begin with is kind of antiquated and outdated, and it's yet another, chop at the stump of this tree or this tree of marriage that makes it useless for men.
And that's bullshit.
It is.
And I think that would weed out a lot of the
guys. If you're in here, hit the like button. That helps me. That helps algorithm promote this. Hit the like button.
The nonsense that we see.
I think I agree with that, Ty. Captain Seven, you want to go ahead and chime in?
Hey, what's going on, everybody?
How you doing?
I'm doing good. As I was hearing everybody talk about this right here, do I think this should be legalized? Hell no. Y'all kidding me? Is this really a
damn? I really want to hear Captain Seven, and I don't want. Thanks for the like, whoever liked. Thank you, Mr. Pitt. I just got to take a piss again because I've been drinking, and damn it, I don't want to miss Captain Seven. He seems like he's coming in hot, so just give me like a minute max. I'll be back. All right, I'm back. All right, Captain Seven was getting kind of crazy. Let's see what he's got to say.
topic that we have come in America? This is really a topic. Of all the things we could talk about legalizing, we talk about legalizing screwing. What?
It's Demon. Thanks for good to see you, man. Doing well. Thanks for joining.
Of all things, y'all, we can't really, let me tell y'all something. We can't speak metaphorically in America because they take things literally. That's like everybody talk about, oh, let's legalize weed. What happened? Weed legalized. They take everything we say seriously. Legalizing prostitution, that ain't gonna do nothing but take us further in the gutter than we already at. Why? Because when it comes down to it, they're going to kill two birds with one stone. They can stop the process of making babies and having children, reproduction, and they're going to make sure that they can create genocide with women by destroying humankind as we know it. Because when you look at everything that's going on in the world, what is the number one problem? Feminists.
Legalizing prostitution, I don't think is going to have that big of an impact on the birth rate. What's had a big impact on the birth rate is birth control and abortion, which is already ubiquitous. Like that, they can get access to that relatively easily. So whether or not prostitution's legalized, I mean, there's already a whole underground thing of it. That's not going to be the death knell for the replacement rate that is an issue here. On a side note, it's always funny to me when people complain about immigration, because immigration is something that's just downstream of the replacement rate. And if American men and women aren't having babies and creating, families with the positive replacement rate, then they bring in immigration to fill the gap, because that's how our economic system's created. It's Demon. So what's the reaction to, man? I'm watching a debate about whether or not prostitution should be legalized.
Okay, this ain't nothing but a feminist attack. But I'm gonna show you how they try to make the hand quicker than the eye. Where are all the feminists at though that's talking about women's empowerment? We want to make sure we do the right thing by women. My body, my choice. Where y'all at? Y'all more quieter than Santa Claus having a funeral on Sunday, Christmas Day. But y'all talking about female empowerment. This ain't gonna do nothing but tear women down. Let me tell y'all something. They're not trying to help us create a better future. They're trying to eliminate the past. That's really what they're trying to do. Why? Because back then, shame was brought about this. Let me ask y'all something. If this was such a glorified position, why do you think women back then did not want people to know that they were doing it? Because it was wrong. It was wrong. It was wrong then and it's wrong now.
It's the same reason as now, because it lowers the chance of being able to present yourself as marriageable. If anything, it was better back then because maybe it was more private.
I don't care if you incentivize it and you get Donald Trump to be an advocate for it. It's wrong.
If it was legal, would it still be prostitution or would it be named something else? That's a good question. They would probably call it sex work, but I kind of take issue with sex work. What you'll see is people don't want to use the word prostitute because they say it has kind of a derogatory or a negative connotation to it. But having the umbrella term of sex work isn't exactly fair, because a sex worker could be someone who takes pictures of their feet and sell it online and they never showed their faces. It can be someone who sells their panties online. You don't know what they look like. Or it can be all the way to someone selling P&V, coitus for money, right? It's like, okay, there's soldiers, right? And some soldiers have never seen the front lines, but what they do is they'll put those big straps to like ratchet strap down like a giant tank on an airliner to make sure it doesn't move or something like that. Or they work like a desk job, or they're a psychologist, But then there are the soldiers who like pulled the trigger and they've taken another person's life and seen it through the scope of their rifle. And they have a much more intimate view with this. They've been told to murder on command. And that soldier is going to have a very different thing going on with them than the soldier who's like, well, yeah, my job was to strap down tanks onto this airliner before the planes take off. And my job was to map out where the pallets are going to go in the holding area on the plane so it's most efficient and we can get them in and out of here, right? It's kind of like that with sex work, right? So it's like, she's like, I did sex work for 3 years. Well, okay, well, what kind of sex work? Were you selling feet pictures online, or were you actually like an escort meeting up with men? Because that's going to have a big ass difference.
It's wrong. Because think about all.
Exactly, it's Demon. The trauma is different. And then you have to put up with it if you're going to be in a relationship with that person.
The young kids that's going to see this. Think about the young women that's going to see this. You're basically convincing them that the best way that you can make it in life is to be a hoe.
I mean, shit, they're already largely convinced of that right now.
But that's not true.
Captain,
that's not true.
Can I ask you a question?
What's up?
Because we have OF already here.
There we go. Thank you, Yomi.
Every time I watch any kind of videos like the whatever podcast or Fresh and Fit, you see women, even from high positions, lawyers, school teachers, doctors, they're regular women who don't have a career. They're doing it anyway. So what's the difference?
Dude, women with careers are doing it. I went on a date with the nurse in the Bay Area, and this woman nurses make hella good money. They make like $75 an hour. I know, because I used to be a child support officer, so I would see everyone's income statements. They make hella money, but they, she still felt the need to do it.
Okay, so what's the difference is if I told you to go jump off a bridge, would you do it?
No, that's not my point. But no one is telling them to do
That
it.
is the point, my brother. That is the point.
Sir,
See,
they're
what you're
willingly
saying
doing it.
is,
What he's saying is that they're already jumping off the damn bridge. I mean, if you go there and there's a horde of people jumping off the damn bridge, and I go there and I say, go jump off the bridge, guys, that's an insignificant effect.
They're willingly doing it already. No one is telling them to do it. They're willingly doing it already. They're just doing it in the comfort of their home, but they're willingly doing it right now. So what's the difference?
That was my point.
There you go.
That's
my point is just like I said, they're doing it in the confines of their own home, so it's out of the public eye. Nobody cares what you do in your own home. That's your business.
See, you can almost hear it in this guy's voice. And this is the manifestation of the stigma around free sexuality that's rooted in puritanical ideals. His manhood and his masculinity is tied to this sort of honor-driven concept of keeping the women chaste. And this is why he's so emotional about it and why it's being expressed this way. Because he's trying to it's just, I can just hear it in him.
If you want to swing from the pole, if you want to swing your partner, I don't care. That's in the confines of your own home. But what I'm saying is, we talking about having this out.
Not if it's on OF. I mean, then you're publicly selling it.
In the open, where if I go down the street and cut the corner, I see somebody over there getting their back blown out.
No.
That was just a funny way of putting it. Like, if I'm just driving down the street and I turn the corner and all of a sudden there's just two people on a sidewalk doing it. You know, it's like when people talk about legalizing prostitution, they're not talking about streetwalkers. Like, it would very obviously be regulated, you know?
No, hold on. No.
We can make it. You can make it in a way. I think I have an easy solution for that.
Well, I think it'd be a controlled environment. It'd be in a controlled environment, like a red light district.
Yeah, exactly.
It would be regulated.
You can do that just like Vegas. You have or Amsterdam. Just make a red light district, right? They have it in a very confined space, and
it's Demon. Sorry, I'm gonna just read your chat real quick. Yeah, that's the thing. People judge if they say you are a prostitute. I can't think of the word. You are judged and put down because of what you do. Yeah, it's true. And a barrier of legalization is the stigma. If the culture stops having the stigma, then it would be legalized tomorrow. By the way, man, sorry, I just want to say something. I've been playing Assassin's Creed Mirage a lot, and you look like Bassam. No, thanks, man. I appreciate that. Dude, I used to love Assassin's Creed, and I still do. Mr. Pitt, did he seriously just equate legal prostitution to exhibitionism? That was the mistake that he made. It's like, nobody's asking for that, man.
That's where you go. But my point is, even with that being said, they're doing it anyway. OF is more common now than corn has been since the invention of the internet.
It's just as common as Amazon. Let's just put it like that.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Right. So they're willingly.
And dude, having free porn is the same thing as what this guy's talking about. Driving down the street and looking to the left and seeing two people having sex. That is the free ubiquitous access to porn we have now. Kids, man, teenagers, middle schoolers have a cell phone in their pocket and they can get this stuff. That is the real problem. Like, women complain about men, you know, becoming creeps or objectifying them and being all this stuff. Their minds are warped from a young age from this stuff.
Doing it anyway. So what you're saying it doesn't compute to me, because you're like, oh, it's gonna get worse. We're already there.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
We're already there.
And I think it'd be a clear separation.
So let me ask you this. Let me ask y'all this. So if you out there thirsty and you see poison, you gonna drink it?
No, you keep wait. You keep coming back to the men. You keep coming back to the men. Women are already selling themselves already.
Trust me, I understand that.
Men is always going to take sex. This is why OF is huge right now, because men is always going to take sex, and most men can't get sex.
Those are the weak men that you speak of, my brother.
There's the problem right there. Right there. This guy right here victimizes women. So he takes away agency from women by saying that they're a victim. And then he goes on to shame men, right? It's like, those are the weak men. They don't deserve anything. You know what I mean? It's just, it's rooted in a very puritanical, tradcon, world view. If you're going to use the red pill analogy, it would actually be very blue pill.
Those are the weak men. Those are the weak men that can't control the goddamn hormones. Those are the weak men that you're talking about. If you basically got yourself aligned with everything that you got going on in life, you don't care about sex. Sex is really something that's not even of your magnitude. What you're doing is you're basically selling everybody short to say, oh, well, sex is legal everybody out here and OnlyFans and Pornhub and everything.
I disagree. I'm sorry. I disagree with you. Hold on. Let me take this one. I disagree with you because what you're saying is, oh, because the man can't get sex, they don't have their stuff aligned and all that. That's bullshit. Because every time you meet a woman, she wants to go out on a $500 date, take you out to dinner, to do this for, do that, and you got.
Ty's bringing up the concept of hoflation. Captain Seven has not properly accommodated the idea of hoflation into his statements. You can't just call these guys weak men and be like they need to self-improve. You know what I'm saying? The whole self-improvement thing it's fucking bullshit. It's just not the answer to this. So, you know, women are more entitled than ever. They work now, and they still want men to provide and make more than them. Okay, that skews the whole market to where you can't just say it's weak men, because it's like men have to be like this next level thing in order to get what he's talking about. So you can't shame the men.
Plenty of guys doing this type of stuff.
Like if you're below average and you're living in your mom's basement and you don't have a job, okay, yeah, you can maybe shame that guy. But if you're a normal guy with a job and you still can't do this, you can't call that a weak man. That's someone that's contributing.
The intention of actually getting to know this woman and be with her and hopefully getting laid, but he's still spending that type of money and getting nothing out the process. So
yeah, that's the thing. I mean, I'm sure the majority of teens watch porn. It's natural. You know what I mean? Yeah, and it's, to be honest, I'm like, I don't think that should be something that's allowable or legal, because it's just, you know, the kids are so young, and these are supposed to be 18 and over stuff. Needy women, but guys can be needy too. Absolutely.
And whose fault is that?
No.
Whose fault is that?
No, but
the woman.
My point is.
No. How is it the woman's fault? Okay, let me ask y'all a serious question. How is it the woman's fault if you stupid enough to spend $500 on that first damn date to get some? You know what? You the fool. You the fool. If you need to tell me that you got another woman and you can wish you can bring to the table, that's on you. That's on you.
Guess what? Then you're the fool for getting married and then getting a divorce and then letting her take you for half of everything that you
Very
have.
good, Ty.
How about
Very
that?
good. Very good.
Okay.
Excellent.
So I'll put you like this, right?
That was an excellent comeback from Ty. He made a very good point.
You see the difference between men and women. Men have actual consequences. When we pick wrong, the court handles us. Just like he said, half of our stuff gets split up.
And you know what's funny? The laws, well, when it comes to marital assets and spousal and child support, aren't even gender biased. It's all about who the higher earner is. And listen, if the woman's the higher earner, then, oh damn it went out of focus. If the woman is the higher earner, she's going to be the one paying alimony. She's going to want to be paid child support. It's not even about gender bias law. But what we know, practical reality on the ground, is that women only want to marry guys that make more money than them. So it always ends up more so that the man is the one who's paying.
The difference is, generally speaking, there's no consequences for women. There's no consequences for women, right? The whole point, the reason why I'm for it is because no matter what you say, men understand hierarchy. We understand competition. No matter what you do, there's always going to be men who are elite, and there's going to be average men and below average men. That's always the case.
Exactly. It's like, if average isn't good enough, then we have a real societal problem. That's a huge problem. Civilization is supposed to exist so that the average can proliferate. It's not for these like super strong people. If you're so strong and amazing, go live in the damn wild. You know what I mean? It's like, it's just self-defeating to say everybody needs to be this self-improvement, guru guy.
What OF has done now is take women who are average or below average, and because they're making a lot of money, say, hey, no, I'm elite now.
Yep. So that's called a delusion. So what the manosphere will say is that these women have delusional standards. Now this guy, Captain's solution is to self-improve. And he's saying, okay, these women have delusional standards. You now need to self-improve in a delusional manner to match what the delusional women are asking for, which is just, it's not an answer.
I'm high value now because I make
answer.
a lot of money. And the reason why I'm for it is because now it will even out the playing field, not for the elite guys, because elite guys will always succeed. But what you're saying is average guys shouldn't get nothing, right? We're talking about blue collar workers.
That's true.
We're talking about stuff like most people who don't want to do. Those are average guys, right? And
Some of
basically,
which
you're
used
saying
to have families.
Exactly.
Average guys, yeah. I mean, listen. If a guy works for the state and makes, $65,000 a year, that should be enough. But since it's not enough, then we got a huge problem. And he makes a good point. Legalizing it would help out people with trouble with that.
Back in the day, they would have factory workers would have families. They would get a wife, right? But now,
I'd like to think that they would want to be with me for me. That's what everybody wants, and that's what's called intimacy. It's demon. And that's something prostitution can't give. Prostitution can't give intimacy. But ideally, prostitution can help people who are just looking for sex have their lane, and it can leave people who are dating and looking for intimacy have theirs. When you say that, do you mean women expected to be treated, etc.? There are a lot of gold diggers out there. Yeah, it's true.
oh, basically, you're saying, hey, those guys shouldn't get anything. It should only be the elite.
Yeah,
And I'm all for men. Hold on, time out. I'm all for men becoming elite, but not every man can become elite, because if every man were elite, we would be average.
Yeah, it's economically unfeasible. Not everybody could be rich. Someone's got to do the normal jobs, and the normal jobs get normal money.
So it doesn't exist. There will always be elite, and there's average. Not every man can become elite.
Yami, can I ask you a question?
But here's the thing, though. That's not my point, though. That's not my point. What my point I was saying was,
let me ask you a
I was
question, please.
making sure that we can understand the topic right here of legalizing prostitution. Let's stick to that topic, because what I'm saying is when it comes down to this situation of legalizing prostitution, the women are going to basically even be more devalued and more demoralizing, because when it comes,
the women need to be devalued because they're overvalued right now. It would devalue them back to normal.
Down to it, being a glorified hoe is wrong. You see, when it gets them in the end, it gets them nothing but by themselves, over there sitting there crying, wishing that they would have done better in life.
Hoes are already glorified. Our entire culture, the way it's created now, is about glorifying whores. Nicki Minaj, Cardi B, Kim Kardashian. It's all about whore harlot glorification. That is here now, and legalizing it would be like a needle that at least pops this bubble a bit.
I'm not saying that the average man does not deserve to get laid. I'm not saying that the average man doesn't deserve to have nothing. But what I'm saying is when it comes down to this particular subject right here, legalizing prostitution, this is going to get out of hand. Because let me ask you something. If you got some men out there, which there are, that basically won't take no for an answer, and they say, I'm paying you $5,000 to get between your legs, and a woman tells them no, what you think is going to happen?
Nothing. They'll just go to the other woman that's going to take $5,000. I swear to God, it's not going to happen like that. There will be so many women that, are fine with being above ground about it because they're already doing it underground now.
It's going to be more rising, and
they'll be like $5,000. Holy shit! Come over right now.
On the R word, and y'all know what I'm talking about. That's number one. Number two, there's going to be more STDs going on.
That's not, sir. That's not true. That's not true.
The STD part ain't true either. I like this guy, Captain Seven, though. He knows how to make content. He's hilarious and entertaining.
That's not true. Go to places. Go to places like Amsterdam and go do your research.
We in America.
That is not true.
We in America.
We're talking about in America, man. Yeah, you can't convince me otherwise that there would be no such thing as a dude who said, I'm paying you $5,000. Once again, now $5,000 You see people on these guys, you see these guys getting mad because the ball won't give them that and they flew them out. So you mean to tell me if a dude spending $5 grand to get between that, get that Pink Panther and he can't get it? And he don't feel like he and you mean to tell me you're not gonna take it a step further?
No, because he would live in a market where if one vendor doesn't want to sell him an item, he can go to the other vendor that's selling the same item.
You're talking
about. I'm eating popcorn, bro. I made some popcorn at home because this was gonna be so long. I was like, I'm gonna make some popcorn.
Yo, I don't know what he's talking about.
You're talking about extreme cases. You're not talking about things that happen on a regular. Go look at any. Well, sir, I didn't interrupt you when you talked. Go look at any red light district and do your research. Just go. It doesn't. What you're talking about doesn't happen as you think it does. It's not normalized.
And you want to know what? That's the reason why I started out. Hold on. That's the reason why I started out talking about the red light district, because we do have a frame of reference for this stuff. And that's why this guy and I agree on it, because these places have less crime. They even in Amsterdam, they have controlled environments for drugs, and they have less crime than what we have.
You hear people who say they don't want to go to Amsterdam? No, and they have a red light district.
Right.
So that's not the case. What you're saying is not true.
In the red light district that properly, man. I mean, yeah, they have a red light district, but there's enough people in Amsterdam to tell you that they don't want nobody to go down there.
Yes, but wait. Yes,
you mentioned that legalized. Let me just say this. You mentioned that legalizing, this prostitution, whatever it is because the nondescript or non-select men deserve love.
No, that's not what I'm saying.
I mean, you said that's not going to make this situation any better. They're going to just pay for it. That's the only thing.
Listen, the reason why I want to legalize it,
I think everybody who played Assassin's Creed back in the day, kind of secretly wished they could be one. I don't know. It always seemed pretty cool to me.
Yes, they're already paying for it. And the reason why I want to legalize it,
and look how it's turning out for them since they paying for it. Look how it's turning out for them.
Listen,
every man pays for it at some point in time, no matter what. Because he's
speak for yourself, bro. Speak for yourself, bro. I ain't never paid for it in my life, bro. Speak for yourself.
You're not understanding what I'm saying.
He's not saying literally. He's saying figuratively. We all pay for it.
That's right. Because you're gonna have to take on dates, right? You're gonna take on vacation. You're gonna buy your girl presents. You're gonna do this. We already pay for it. So it's just
got to do with prostitution. Somebody please explain to me what that got to do with prostitution. You talk about holding hands and singing a partridge in the pantry. I'm talking about prostitution. I'm talking about a woman selling herself for $1 bill.
My guy, can we stop yelling?
Let me chime in, y'all.
Can we stop yelling?
One at a time. Let me let Smitty get in here, and then I want to hear what Trey have to say. I will say this real quickly though. These women are already doing that.
That's right.
Thank you.
They are out here doing exactly that. So I don't know. I mean, I understand Captain 7, he's saying, okay, so I guess it would be worse. This is what they're doing. They're putting their bodies out. They're putting a number on it. That's what prostitution is. They're already doing that. But let me
can I put my two before Smithy go?
That's right, Mr. Pitton. I mean, also, dead bedroom marriages, getting divorced, all that stuff. It's just, I mean, yeah, Captain 7's just, he's coming from an older time here.
Can I give my 2 cents?
Go
the
ahead.
reason why I want to legalize it, because that's what OF is. Corn is different. Corn is in a controlled environment. Corn is directed in all this other things, and it's taxable, right? OF is not. OF is not. OF is basically prostitution. That's what OF is. So if you're going to do it on OF and basically OF make women control the markets, right? Then I'm all for legalizing it. So there is balance. As long as it's
taxable, they get taxed because there's a trace. They get taxed. They don't just keep that money. They pay taxes.
No, I'm not saying they don't get taxed. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying between the reason why prostitution is not legal is because you can't really tax it So you have to make control
Control,
environments
yeah.
like the red light district.
Got it.
Smitty, what's your thoughts on all of this?
Wow. Yeah. It's a lot of emotion today. Respect to you, sis. It's good to see you as always.
You too.
So my thing is, one, I'm just gonna say this, and this is just Smitty. I'm not talking as if I haven't gone through the same struggles as other men out here, but I don't know where y'all be finding these hoes. I don't know where you go. I don't know what you doing.
Probably Tinder.
I don't know what you are attracted to. I don't see it. I don't know what y'all be doing out here, man. And I understand, okay, yeah, yes, the ladies definitely got they partake in a lot of things. I'm not taking away from that at all. I see the dumb shit that they be saying and doing. But I'm gonna be honest with you, like, we gotta get our shit together too. Men ain't what they used to be. We slacking on a lot.
Man, I'm not sure it's Demon. Probably for maybe another hour max. Well, we'll see. I do gotta get up soon and do some stuff.
A lot of things, and the reason why I'm saying this is not to come down on men. It's just the simple fact that I talk to men. I'm not gonna keep talking to these women that don't want to listen. I'm gonna talk to y'all. And it's I don't know, it's weird to me. But prostitution, right? So going to the topic, honestly, I don't care what no grown ass person do with their body. I don't care. The only thing that I do care about is kids. So my thing is this: you want to make prostitution legal? Well, two things gonna have to happen. One, anybody involved with that, dudes, you're gonna have to get your nuts snipped. Ladies, you're gonna have to get them tubes tied. Yes, that's right.
He's like, I don't care what people do with their bodies. And then 2 statements later, he's like, well, you're gonna have to agree to get neutered.
On sizzle. That's right. That's right. No coming back.
Very much care.
We're gonna do that because we're gonna at least keep the kids up out of this. Okay, we're not gonna keep raising tax dollars. We're not gonna keep having unwanted.
And it's just he's expecting that there would just be this free for all where people are just having all these kids, but literally, kids being born out of wedlock is the highest it's ever been. And I mean, birth control and stuff exists, and prostitutes are least likely, probably, I don't know, I could be wrong, to get pregnant because it interferes with their business model. Mr. Pitt says, I've always thought it was odd that porn is legal, but prostitution isn't. Women are allowed to sell sex as long as they do it on camera and post it online for the entire world to see. Mad weird. Dude, it's a really good point. It's a really good point. I personally believe if prostitution is going to be illegal, then porn should also be illegal. And if porn is going to be legal, then prostitution should be legal. It should be all the way in one direction instead of this gray area stuff in between. Because right now what you have is porn legal, and all it does is people sell porn as if it's a substitute for actual sex, and it is not. It's not. It isn't. It isn't the real thing, and all it does is the more people indulge in porn, the more it makes them want sex, and then they can't get it, and it leads to all these problems. You know what I mean? So it is weird. And when you really think about it, Mr. Pitt, it's not because it just ended up that way. It's because the system is designed to exploit men's biological needs for sex. So if you make prostitution illegal and you make porn legal, it makes men really want this thing. And then the idea that sex sells is true, unless it's actual sex. You know what I mean? Then you can't market stuff around it. But it's all about exploiting men's biological desire for it. And if it was up to me, I would make it illegal so long as prostitution is illegal. But if porn is legal, then so should prostitution be. That's just my opinion on it.
The babies.
Exactly. It's Demon has the right of it. It's an addicting thing. It leads to more addiction and perversity. You know what I mean? So it's women will sit here, sometimes you see on these panels on YouTube and the OF girls will be like, we're helping men by doing this. It's no, you're not. You're only making this way worse. And they don't care because they're profiting off of it, but if they were actually selling sex, then people wouldn't spend so much on the OF girls.
Period. The second thing, we're going to have to adjust the age limit. I don't know if I've heard anybody say that. In some states, you're sexually legal at 15. So do you not realize there are some states where children can wound up hopping into that, because some states, the section, the legalization for them to consent is young. It's like minors.
That's
So
for consent,
I mean,
though.
that's one thing that I'm thinking about. But other than that, honestly, I mean, I don't care what you do. Look, you want to go tear a new hole in your already there ass, you go right on. You go right on. If that's what you want to do, I don't give a shit what you want to do with your body. No, yeah, on that one, your body, your choice. But when it comes to kids and babies popping into this, or some of these women being indulged in this lifestyle, and the children have to actually observe what mommy or dad does, nah, man, that ain't cool. That ain't.
If this guy cared about kids, I think he would be for legalizing prostitution, because it would serve as an exhaust valve for what is our hookup culture currently. Men and women not taking dating seriously because they just want to get sex. That leads to the unwanted pregnancies and things like that, where prostitution, ideally regulated, would be protected, and there wouldn't be unwanted childbirths from that. It would prevent that.
Cool. You're destroying that child before they even have a chance out the gate. But other than that, I digress. My mic is muted. Rock out.
Trey,
I want to comment on what Smitty said.
Yeah.
I want to comment on.
Hang on. It's my turn.
Oh, there's two Treys.
Smitty, first of all, you're too late. There are already sixth graders taking feet pics for $25, so you're late. They've already sexualized themselves. And the source on that is you can go to the northwest.com, and there's an entire article about it where the author's daughter came home and asked her to paint her toes, and then she found out that it was because a friend of hers at school wanted to take pictures so that she could post them for feet pics. So they've already been sexualized. This has already happened. It's too late. We already passed that. I once upon a time got in trouble, DD, if you could believe that or not, on the department. And my punishment was that I had to go work prostitution. That was my punishment. I had to go work prostitution unit for 3 to 5 months.
I wonder what he did for a living.
Absolutely, prostitution needs to be legalized. Because when I was working that unit, I could never understand who was the victim.
Maybe he was an officer, maybe.
I could never understand it. We were charging people with a crime with no victim. There's no victim in prostitution. The woman is consenting. She's being paid. The man is consenting. He's paying. Who's the victim? And so what happens is that they come up with this cockamamie, well, society is the victim. That's what they'll say. Well, I'm confused. How is society being harmed because two people decided to have an exchange, a transaction for sex? How is society being... I'm serious. These are questions I used to sit in the car and think. Who's being hurt by this?
The society is being hurt because we're not getting tax dollars.
Somebody on this panel wants to use their money to buy something. What's the difference between buying sex and buying a pile of bananas? If I want to go...
So when you see a prostitute, she's obviously doing it because she has money issues, and I feel sorry for women like that. Just to get by, how do you feel about it, Shah? Let me ask you, man, if a guy has money issues, so he has to go work digging ditches because he can't find any other job, and he has to basically prostitute his body and ruin his joints and do all these things because he just needs money to survive in our capitalist system, and he has no other means, do we also feel sorry for that man too? You know what I mean? And I get it. Yeah, like prostitution is something like that. But the thing about your question is that there are women who are born into these circumstances, and they are bullied into this by some horrific pimp, and it's all this gangster culture stuff. But then there are also women who choose to do this because they'd rather not work a normal job, and it's fast and it's easy money. And it's not even just about money. It's about it being fast and easy money, and things like that. But the women who are obviously victims of sex trafficking, that is a very real thing. And those people need help. Absolutely. I think it would be inaccurate to say that all of them that do prostitution had no other choice, you know what I mean, but to do that. So that's the real question. And typically why it is not legalized or the argument is against it is because of sex trafficking. So anybody who's pressured by a system or whatever and doing something they don't want to do in order to survive is in a shitty situation, at that time. But I'm afraid of victimizing all of them because it does take away from agency and accountability on the women's part as well, That's the thing. If it was a guy, it would be like, go on, man, get in there. But women, they are precious, and in my opinion, is biased. Well, yeah, that's the thing. I mean, and this is where the face of traditionalism comes back in. Like the guy captain over here is yelling about, men need to self-improve, men need to do that, and it's rooted in these idea that women are these sacred, delicate objects that need male protection, and that men are and on the other hand, men are disposable. You know what I mean? Men need to be willing to give up their lives to protect these. Women are sacred, men are, and if women are sacred, what does that make men? Profane trash, whatever the opposite of sacred is, a taboo. You know what I mean? So that's one of the problems, and people are still rooted in that way of thinking.
Buy a new TV, I'd walk into a store, I'd buy a TV, and I'd go home. It's a simple transaction. There's a saying, fair exchange is no robbery. I remember seeing it and arresting the guy, and he's looking at me, I'm looking at him like, I don't really know what you did wrong here, other than solicit prostitution, but there's no victim. We never ever listed the actual prostitute as a victim. Never. It was always society.
See right there. Well, yeah, there you go.
So no, they need to legalize it because there are a lot of people who are catching charges. They're frivolous. They're erroneous. They're BS charges. Because there's no victim.
Work hard to make her happy, and it's like men are blamed for a lot of stuff like they don't have control over. Like when the marriage fails, and the whole thing goes belly up. It's never she did this, she did that. It's always like, well, what did you do wrong, man? Like, what could you have done better so your wife wasn't unhappy? It really is always the guy's fault. You know what I mean? At least a lot of the time. And that's unfortunately another stereotype or stigma.
Aren't they sex crime charges now?
No.
They're not.
Not
Okay.
a sex crime.
Okay.
So in this particular case, if you can't afford her, you can't get it. No different than if you went into the store, there was a pair of shoes you couldn't afford. You don't just steal the shoes. You can't afford it, you move on. And somebody mentioned earlier that in these places that have red light districts, there's lower crime. That's a fact. You can look that up. There's statistics that back that. It's a fact. There's lower crime in those areas that have red light districts. Why? Because there's an understanding. There's a transactional understanding. I get what I pay for. So no, in my opinion, absolutely legalize it because you're wasting time and resources on it. What they're scared of is that women will probably take advantage of this more than the men. I think that's what they're afraid of because they've already shown a propensity to want to be paid for sex.
Women would take, here's the thing, it would be like when marijuana got legalized. Like now and here in California, you have dispensaries. You can walk in and you can buy, weed, a pre-roll or a joint or this or that. But it didn't get rid of the underground weed economy because it's cheaper to access. It's just the weed in the dispensary costs more than weed if you bought it on the street or from a dealer, underground or whatever. So it's still thriving because the taxes and stuff make it pretty heavy. One thing that's a positive is that now people can, have a certain amount of weed on them and not be criminalized for it. It's less of a strain on the police system for them to be worried about that and the jail and prison system and all that kind of stuff. Prostitution would be the same way. There would be plenty of women who know that they can be a prostitute in a regulated red light style district, but they would still choose to meet up with guys in a hotel and get paid cash. You know what I mean? Like it wouldn't completely stamp out the underground element of that. And I believe sex trafficking is more of a byproduct of the underground element of that.
OnlyFans, corn.
But what it would do is the women who are underground that need help can probably more directly ask for it because it's not illegal what they're doing.
Feet Finder, Seeking.com. All these they already know the women are all for it. Yeah, I'll take the money. I'll happily exchange my sexuality for money. I think what people know is that they don't want the women to do this because the women will take over. It won't be the men. Everybody thinks it'll be the men. Men will run out of money eventually. But the women, you don't run out of box. They just keep repackaging it.
Can I bounce off of you, Trey?
Go ahead.
Okay, so weed's still illegal in the UK, huh? That's interesting. Yeah, I mean, over here, if I got caught with the bag of weed, it would be confiscated and I'd get a warning. I guess that's not horrible. It's better than going to jail.
I want to know what Captain Seven think of that. What do you think of what he just said, Captain Seven?
See, and what so I'm glad she's asking Captain Seven because what Trey basically presented is that these women aren't these delicate victims that Captain Seven is portraying them to be. They're beings with agency that make this choice sometimes.
Oh my goodness. I just don't understand. I just don't understand it. Maybe it's because I'm wired differently. I just don't understand it. My thing is, you said, sir, about how you had to work prostitution and you saw that you had to make an arrest and you didn't know who was the victim and who was this and that and all like this here. What makes you think that that's not going to be magnified 10 times? As I said earlier, if a man decides that he wants to pay $5,000 to get in between her legs and she says no, if you make, once again, hear me out.
We have data already.
Hear me out. Of course, they're not going to be crime in the red light districts because everybody there is on one accord. We're here to have a good time. We're here for a good time, not a long time. Everybody's there on one accord. Okay, we got it. We're going to stick to my route down the road together. Okay, gotcha. What about the rest of the world? Because there are some people in this world that wish to not be a part of that. What I'm saying to y'all is...
See, he's like, what about the people who don't wish to be a part of that? It's your right and your freedom to not be a part of that. The problem with Captain Seven is that he wants a world that imposes his value system on others that don't want to live by his moral value code. You know what I mean? And it's like we live in a country where there's so many different kinds of races and religions and creeds and all these this diversity of thought. And you don't have to be a part of everybody's way of life. You know, that is the purpose for regulation and keeping things in a red light commercial district or something. But asking for a system of governance that is rooted in your own moral value system and asking others who aren't part of that to live by it is the fundamental issue here. It's Demon says, dude, I swear I love the way you talk. Very intelligent, man. I'm like they are fancy words. I appreciate that, bro. Thank you, man. And Mr. Pitt says, weed still has a lot of hurdles to overcome. I find comparisons to alcohol to be more appropriate because it represents a vice that's socially integrated to the maximum extent possible. Yeah, I can see that. And I mean, I think you brought up prohibition earlier. Prohibition is a good, thing to look at now for how it is. It's basically like we got a prohibition on this and people do it underground.
No matter how you slice it, no matter how you dice it, wrong is wrong. And when it comes down to it, I agree with you. The women will take over more than the men because what do they got to use?
Is it wrong because that's what you believe, or is it wrong?
Very good question. Is it wrong because of what you believe, or is it wrong because it's harming people? That is such a good question. And see, I think he must have been a police officer, and he said it's basically a victimless crime, so why are we prosecuting it? Let's see what Captain Seven says.
If anything is contracting you to your free will, that is not something that you want to do. If you telling me right now, okay, I got a question for each and every one of y'all.
He sidestepped the question. He's pivoting. He's got to answer it.
The question is very simple. I know, but you taking me you long stroking. It's a simple question.
Yeah.
Is it wrong because it's against your belief, or is it wrong because people are being harmed? Which one?
It's being harmful. It's being harmful, man.
Hang on.
But how though? How? Who's being harmed? Who's the victim?
How?
Yeah.
No, not how. Who? Who is being harmed?
Who? The woman.
See that this goes into women are sacred. Women are these sacred, delicate flowers that everyone's taking advantage of, and he's taking away their agency, and it's because of this kind of belief that allows this gray area for women to take advantage of.
Women is being harmed because when it comes down to it,
being harmed, she consented to it, and she gave the man a price. So how is she being harmed?
My brother, you and I both know that that's not how the game. You and I both know that's not how the game goes. In today's time, that woman.
Is she an adult?
Yes, she's an adult.
So she's capable of making her own decisions as a free-thinking adult.
There you go.
Yes, she is.
And this is why we can't go back to traditionalism.
Okay, so how is she being harmed if she made the decision to exchange sex for money?
But why don't you go explain that to the justice system that believes every woman is right?
I just explained to you that the women in these particular cases are not listed as victims. Even the government sees them as adults. That's why they list the society as the victim. I asked you a very simple question. Who is being harmed?
I
You
answered
said
your
the women are
question.
being harmed. I'm trying to understand how.
Yes, they
Explain
are.
how they're being harmed.
Because it's morally wrong. Once again,
because it's morally wrong. See, oh man, yeah. See, that goes into society maybe, and that goes into traditional tradcon society being harmed. But who's the, Hang
on. That's your belief. I asked you earlier, is it wrong because of what you believe?
There you go.
Or is it wrong because it's harming someone? You say it's
well, in that case, my brother,
it's
both.
About a belief. Now you're talking about beliefs.
No,
so is this about your belief,
right.
Or is this about actually somebody being harmed?
Oh, I literally said, and once again, if you're gonna put it like that, then it's both. Because man, there's no way to justify wrong. There's no way to justify wrong. If that was the case, do any of y'all have any daughters in here?
No. We're not moving the goalposts. Let's stay right where.
The thing about the daughter question, okay, so a woman becomes a stripper or this or that and all these things. They're always like, oh, in one hand, it's like if a guy wants custody, it's hell to get custody. On the other hand, when the daughter grows up to become a stripper and OF model, it's like, well, where was the dad at? Like, well, what about her relationship with her father? You know what I mean? And the dad is supposed to take all this responsibility and blame for the daughter growing up that way. But it's like, we live in the United States. Like, how a man doesn't even have any legal authority to be able to stop his daughter from doing that. Like, as soon as the daughter becomes 18, if she's doing that, there's nothing a father can do. You can't take away this person's phone. You can't lock them in their room to do that. You can't do anything about it. So like, how is that even, supposed to make sense?
I'm trying to get you to explain, and you said now it's both. So morally it's wrong. Okay, if that's what you believe, then that's fine. That's what you believe. I'm not going to disrespect that, right? Now let's get back to the women.
Right.
If a woman is she's an adult woman capable of making decisions. She can go buy a drink. She can buy a house. She can buy a car. She's an adult. And she
can be 19 and go out with the 53-year-old if she wants. I've seen it happen at the child support office.
Decides that this is what she wants to do with her life. Where is the harm?
The harm is that once you done caught enough bodies, and once you didn't get old enough to a point where you realize that you as a woman, you want to have kids, you want to build a family, you want to settle down, you see what's happening out here to those women that basically have that mindset. They get old and they realize they're going to be forever alone. So that's literally
that's their choice.
Okay.
That's their choice, exactly. I mean, and regardless of if it's legal or not, I mean, people are already out here doing this, like with the sugar babies. I'm gonna go bring my cat in here because I don't know, I'm just gonna let her in. I'll probably wrap up the stream in like 20 minutes, but I just want to bring her in here. Maybe I can get her some screen time, so when I'm at somewhere, other places, I can go back to my stream and be like, oh, there's my cat. So hold on a second. I'll be right back. Yay. All right, sick. I'm back.
I understand that. I understand that. I understand that.
Hang on, Captain. As an adult, that's a choice she made, correct? No different than if I decide to be a firefighter. I know that there's a possibility I could lose my life in a fire. That's a choice that I made, correct?
Sure, I understand that.
As an adult, as a free-willing, free-thinking adult, that there are consequences that come along with this. She has sacrificed that lifestyle that you're talking about because
the same thing they say about soldiers. Well, you made that decision.
Wants to make money. It seems
You signed on the dotted line.
to me as though you're trying to save these women from themselves, but they don't want to be saved.
I love that the guy's name is Captain too. This basically goes to Captain Sabo. They don't want to be saved.
And I agree with that, though. I agree with that. But I'm sticking to the situation right here.
I think. Hold on, real quick. I think what we have to realize is it's not about the one victim. It's about the society, right?
That's where I'm going. Thank you.
Hold on, Captain. We're not just talking about what two people do in the bedroom. We're talking about legalizing prostitution. You legalize prostitution, you're killing marriage.
It's killed
marriage,
already.
You kill a society.
Marriage is killed already. No fault divorce killed it. It's not a prostitution that's going to be the death knell for marriage. It really is not that. I mean, it's already been gutted.
Right? Society. The foundation of any society is marriage. It's the strongest builder of wealth. It protects against. It builds a nuclear family, which gives you a better spawn. Better spawn, you have less crime in society. So we're talking about affecting the society with legalizing prostitution.
It's already happening.
It has already happened with OL.
Because y'all keep giving an example. I'm about to give you an example. You keep talking about the red light district. There's legal prostitution in Las Vegas.
Yes, that's a red light district. It's a red light district.
That is not correct. That is not correct. There is no legal prostitution in Las Vegas. That is a myth and a fallacy. It is decriminalized, which is complete. And it's not true. It's decriminalized, which is completely different.
Yes, very different.
So
decriminalize means the Johns still get arrested, but she shouldn't be selling it, but if she won't get prosecuted for selling it.
Okay.
So you're not arrested for it.
I got it.
I
got a question.
Means you can be arrested for it, but you won't go to jail. There's a difference.
I got a question.
The point I'm harping on is if you can get away with it, right? That's what people care about. We don't care about what it looks like on the books. So in Las Vegas, it has a 48% higher crime rate compared to the national average. We're talking about the red light district.
Technically, when it comes to Vegas, it's prostitution's actually illegal in Vegas itself, like where the Strip is. And it's legal outside of the city of Vegas, and like that's why they have people are what I can't remember if it's outside of Clark County. It's like you have to go to the brothels are outside of there in these very small towns.
We have it here in America, right?
So, you give a half-ass stats, bro. But okay.
Yeah, where do you get that stat from?
You get no. He's right, but he's also not pointing out that there's pockets of Las Vegas that have these high crime rates. It's not the entire Las Vegas. He's giving half-ass stats.
But the red light district is a pocket of Amsterdam. I've already thought this out, right? So when we're talking about what's happening in America, when you destroy, I'm not saying marriage is not being destroyed. What I'm saying is we have to revert back.
It's Demon that he says it's amazing how you can get arrested for giving something to someone you have. Something you own, you get arrested. Yeah, I mean, you can even say that for like if you grow weed and you sell it. I mean, it's yours and you're just trading it. But it's like our entire civilization is built off of who profits off of the trades that you do. They're saying, oh, you made this trade, you owe us something, or you can't make this trade.
To what was conserving society.
I mean, like, and some things are just off limits because they say, well, even though you have this or you can get it, it's bad for society.
Instead of pushing forward into what's destroying society. If liberalism, we all agree here, liberalism is what led to today's standards, right? Was what destroying society today. We don't push further into liberalism.
Liberalism is what has eroded the roots of traditionalism. But it's like you can't keep living in a society that has 1 foot in, 1 foot out. Like what we have now is like a half-ass kind of traditionalism and a half-ass liberalism. And if you can't have a full traditionalism because that gives men authority over women and women would never be on board for that, then, well, actually, ironically, the answer is you have to keep pushing further into liberalism in order to have a defined society so we know what the rules are again.
we push back to conservatism, and that's why I was talking about the laws of fornication and it not being enforced in America and how it should be. That solves so many of our problems because the definition of conserve is to preserve something, right? Right, basically.
Yes.
So if we went back to that, we're preserving our society, not destroying it. I get
If that were true, the marriage rate.
Let me give you an example.
The fact is that if you legalize marriage, it doesn't mean that people are going to. Legalize prostitution doesn't mean people are going to get married. That's ridiculous. People are not just going to get married now because prostitution isn't legal. No, it's not legal now, and people are not getting married.
There you go.
They're not getting married.
I said revert back to what our society was by enforcing the laws that are against fornication that are already on the books.
Well, let me ask you a question.
Sir, do you know who the majority of people who get arrested for prostitution are?
The guys.
It ain't single men, son.
The married men.
Cool, man.
I'm gonna let Ty answer
that's
this question,
funny.
We're gonna go
Is
into
it married people, Trey?
Listen, them people I was locking up had wives.
Yeah, there
families.
you go. Man, I wish I had it now, but there was this from one of Malcolm X's books, and there was times when he actually lived in what was essentially a brothel, and so he knew the ladies and stuff. And Malcolm X was basically saying that the prostitutes, because he would hear them come in and out of the house, and the prostitutes would tell him that most of their clients were actually married men, and it was because what they really craved from the prostitutes was actually intimacy. And actually the best prostitutes, I always say, men can't get intimacy from a prostitute, and I do believe that because paid for intimacy isn't what men want. But essentially men end up in these marriages where it's just like starfish sex or it's just dead bedroom, and their wife is not emotionally there for them. The wife does not respect them. So the man goes and sees prostitutes and sugar babies because even though it's temporary and it isn't like a genuine thing, they still get some form of intimacy as a substitute that they're not getting from their wives. But that was what Malcolm X said. I wish I could find that.
They had kids. I remember one guy was begging us to let him go because he had to go pick up his kids from football practice. Begging us. He was married. Who do you think majority of
you see my point. That's my point of what I'm saying.
No, that wasn't your point. No, your point was it was wrong, and we have to save women from themselves.
See,
that wasn't your point.
Giving was a solution, not just a retort to the actual question. My solution.
Okay, I got a question.
Against fornication already on the books. But go ahead, Tom.
Can I ask y'all a question? Sure. Since y'all say let's legalize prostitution, what do each and every one of y'all suppose they go about it? How would you go about making sure that this be in a safe, controlled environment instead of spreading like wildfire everywhere? I would love to hear this conversation.
The same way they did it with marijuana. They have marijuana shops. All you have to do is open up some brothels and have it controlled, problem solved.
No, I wouldn't.
You gotta stop smoking weed. You gotta stop smoking weed. So there's something in the weed.
Hey, buddy. Hey, look, it's my cat. Wee. Oh, she's gone now.
I would want me personally. I would want a red light district in every state. If you want to put it in like multiple cities, I'm good with that. But I would want it in a controlled environment so people have the choice to go there, and the people who don't want to see these things don't have to see it. It's not out in the open.
Right.
Trey Ferg hit on a good point earlier, and that is that because I looked this up because I was thinking about going to Amsterdam to the Cannabis Cup this year.
That's why you're not going out there.
You can go to Colorado or California or Nevada and hit up the dispensary.
I don't smoke, but I got partners who do. I just didn't want to be here for Thanksgiving again. But increasingly over there, because people keep using this red light district as an example. Increasingly, people are turning against that, and the people in Amsterdam have level complaints against the red light district. One, because any place where they're doing business, they're gonna want to expand their business, and one way to expand this business is expand your, footprint. So, you
Hello.
know, the violence, crime, all of that, the moral imperative aside, I don't.
Oh, her name's Mimi. Mimi. Yeah.
I don't support it, and I don't support it for a different reason. And the reason I don't support it is economics. Because legally, there's nothing that you should be able to do that I can't do. And if you selling pussy, I gotta be able.
I mean, if prostitution is legal, there can be gigolos. Men can do it. It's just, I mean, is there a market for it? Doesn't mean you can't.
Able to sell.
There are gigolos now.
So if we're gonna legalize that, we're gonna legalize pimping too. That's all I got to say on it.
And that's
okay.
where
He's talking in terms of pimping.
the Pandora's box will be open. Once one thing starts, see, let me tell y'all something.
I mean, you could have an escort management agency, probably where escorts work for you, if you want to call that pimping. I don't know.
What are you talking about? If you eliminate pimping,
Sir, hold on, sir. Wait, no, you didn't.
If it were legal, there's nothing that would stop you from opening your own.
There, you're not illegal. You're not illegalizing pimping. That's the whole point of the ranch in Vegas. You're not legalized. You're legal. Pimping is legalized. That's pimping 101.
You're not hearing me on it as an economic term. If you sell an iPhone, I gotta be able to sell an iPhone. This ain't a moral thing. I don't.
Steven says, I think men want intimacy a lot. Yeah, in other words, the wife isn't given the intimacy for the hubby, so he has to go to a prostitute to feel loved or intimate, I guess. Exactly. Yeah, and honestly, man, what's funny is the best courtesans or prostitutes, it's not even about stroking a man that way. It's about stroking his ego. And it's like, it's one thing for a guy to go visit a prostitute once and whatever, then he's on to the next one. But a prostitute keeps a customer coming to her by making that customer believe that, like, there's some kind of connection here, that she really likes him. And you see this with the OF girls, because what they do is they craft this parasocial relationship with the customers that they're selling the OF porn to. And then the customer ends up spending a lot of money because they believe that this OF girl really likes him or something. And that's the whole real game about it. You know what I mean? And this is where, even if you take away prostitution or OF and porn and all that stuff, is like, that's how simping is a problem. And that's how gaming is a thing. You know what I mean? Like, people game each other and extract resources from them. A woman games a man and he gets screwed over, when she divorces him. Or a man games women and he's got 5 women he's gaming and using them for things.
I don't give a fuck. If the hoe want to sell her pussy, that's fine. Bring me my money. That's all. That's my only point about it.
Yep.
That's what I'm saying.
And he's missing the point, because, okay, if they're selling it and they're getting taxed, the government is the pimp. I mean, if you want to break it down to a crude analogy like that, it's not really a pimp, but it's like, you are getting your money because society is getting its money and it's being divvied up and allocated whatever society sees appropriate as from that revenue.
Everybody else.
Yeah, that's what a brothel is, bro. A brothel is pimping.
No, hold on, but here's the question.
I don't have a problem with it. Just like I don't have a problem with these guys who open up smoke shops. There's a smoke shop. I'm in Maryland. There's a smoke shop down there on every other.
Bro, a strip club is pimping. A strip club is pimping.
Hold on. But one objection is, and this is to my guy with the moral. The thing about conservatives is they tend to go to that moral conservative thing initially and just stick on it. But you gotta. There are ways to conflict these arguments beyond that. And one of them is, bro, I couldn't, when I was in Nashville and I had a Florida ID, I couldn't buy Sudafed. So what we decide to make legal and not legal is completely arbitrary. So as long as we continue to decide that it ain't right, it ain't for the best, that is what it is. Because there's nothing about laws that is written into the laws of physics.
Oh man, Mr. Pitt, I didn't see your last comment. No fault divorce, hoflation, feminism, etc. killed marriage already. Prostitution will be fashionably late to the party. Yeah, exactly, man. It's just like, it's not right to pin all the death of all this stuff on prostitution, which hasn't even been legally in the game. I mean, it's no fault divorce and all this other stuff that caused it. So, Yeah, I've been live for 3 hours now, man. I appreciate everyone who's been here. It's Demon, you're an absolute legend. Mr. Pitt, you're a legend too. I appreciate you. And I don't know, I'll probably just chill for a little bit more before I dip out. I should really stream more. I don't really stream that much, but I always kind of told myself maybe like one day out of the weekend I would do it. Like, I wish I can be more disciplined and choose like one specific time that everybody would be like, okay, this is when he's streaming. And that's the right way to do it. It's just like, that would probably be Sunday, you know, because Saturday, there's some woman I'm seeing and she has Friday and Saturdays off. So I'm working Friday. So Saturday's kind of our day to hang out. And that's probably where my Saturday would go. And then Sunday I would have free to be able to stream and stuff like that. And I haven't really been producing as many videos as I have been, just because I've just been chilling too much. But yeah, I mean, so that's pretty much it. I got this cat over here. She's basically crying outside of our house, and my brother and my father took her in, and her and I have had some bonding time because, well, my dad's out of the country and my brother doesn't live here, so I kind of just been taking care of her. Go on, man. I hope it goes well with her. Thanks, bro. I appreciate that. You should definitely stream more often. Your channel will most certainly grow. Well, thank you, Mr. Pitt. I appreciate that, man. All the support helps. The hardest part about streaming, I mean, I used to stream a lot on Twitch and play video games and stuff. But it's just like, if, like with you guys here, just two people or even one person to talk to, that's what puts the gas in the engine of the stream to make it go, because it's just, there's like this mental thing where it's just so much easier. Other than that, it feels like I'm kind of just making a normal YouTube video without the edits. But when there's people here, it just feels natural. So I do appreciate you guys being here, because that's what makes the stream get to 3 hours in the first place, you know. But yeah, my buddy sent me this person's stream here. Her name is Dee Dee Woods. And when he told me about what it was, I was like, this would actually be the perfect thing to react to, because it's so long. I don't really want to make a standalone YouTube video for this. But as a stream, this is like fun to react to. Let's see what the comments say. As to the question on the video title, yes, but partially. It's more so about getting rid of the plausible deniability that so many sexual liberated women have in regards to them wanting to be sex workers. A lot of tradcons and feminists would lose credibility with young men if it were to be legal. That's interesting. I can see what he says about tradcons, but feminists would be interesting. I wish he'd explain a little bit more about that part. Add on to number one, being able to just go get laid, it destroys women's ability to dangle the carrot of sex in front of them. In exchange of resources, literally all industries related with dates, relationships, marriage would take a drastic financial blow. And finally, that's true. That's so true. I mean, all the industries that cater to dating the way it is would take a huge blow. Women would have to provide something of value to men in order to get a guy. Yes. And I mean, that's just more to the credit of why legalizing it would be a positive thing. Shah, do you enjoy streaming? I do enjoy streaming. I've always liked streaming. It is fun. It is fun, you know. I've been making more YouTube videos lately, because what's nice about YouTube videos is I like posting a video, and then like maybe I wake up the next morning and I check on it and see if people can find the videos all the time and comment and stuff. And the videos are shorter, you know, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 20 minutes. But with streams are usually longer, and like people, when they click on a stream and it's not live, it's like, unless you're really popular already, they're just less likely to go through it. So for discoverability, streaming is only good to get discovered when you're live. Ow, 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 ow. Okay. I know you want to come up here, but that's not the right way. Oh, sorry. She just started like, she wants to play. But yeah, I love streaming, man. It's fun. I do want to start streaming on Twitch again, and maybe doing some game streams. I would do game streams here. I just don't know if people care to see it here. It would probably be a better idea for me to do a multi-stream to both platforms at once. But, you know, I feel like if I'm going to stream, I want to know what I'm going to talk about and just stick to it. where gaming streams, it's just I don't want to have a bunch of like 2-hour gaming streams where like nothing really happens, and it's just like I want to be able to give some substance to the viewer. So certain things reacting to, I think streaming lends a better platform or format for reacting to it than your typical YouTube video reaction. So ideally, if I put out like 2 videos a week and then do like 1 stream a week, I think it would be like a really, really good thing. So. Hey, come here. Mimi, Mimi. Dang, I want to pick her up and put her in the camera. Well, as soon as she gets back, I'll do it, and then I'll cut stream. I just want to get some close shots of her on this that I could then go on my YouTube channel later. And, Mimi. And then be like, oh, there's my cat when I'm, like, not home. I also want to make one video of me just shooting my bow and arrow. Because then when I'm like it's rainy today, I can't go to the archery range. But what I could do is then look at my YouTube video of me shooting my bow and arrow and get some sort of, I guess, pleasure from watching it. Yeah, man, I'd love to see a gaming stream. Yeah, I mean, one of these days I'll do it. I mean, if you go to my Twitch, you know, I don't know if you still use Twitch. If you do, I'm more likely to do a gaming stream on there. Love your setup, man. Looks so professional. Thank you, man. You know, I just got this second camera right here. I'm really happy I bought this camera, man. It worked out. This is a Canon R8, and it does a really good job. This camera right here is a Canon EOS R, and it does equally as good of a job. But this one is like really new technology, really good. And then I have, you know, my webcam. Part of me does want to get a third DSLR because I do want a Canon R6, but it's just totally overkill. But that would be hilarious. I would like to have like a nice camera that goes on this table because I have a bunch of models and stuff that I want to make, and I also have like a bunch of things I want to like unbox. Like, I don't know. It's just I don't care to unbox any of this stuff. It's weird, but it's like I used to care about this stuff more, but now it's just like I'd only save it for like if my stream got big, I'd be like, okay, let me do a donation goal and we'd open some of this stuff. Mimi, come here. Come here. Yeah. Come here. Yeah. She does not want to get picked up. There you go. Ow. Why are you being so camera shy, buddy? There we go. Oh shit. All right, I got her. I finally got her. Yay. It's like that scene in Lion King. Whee! All right, I'll let her down. I get it. You don't like this. I really should not be having a cat either, man. I got some horrible ass allergies, but you know, once my dad gets back, then I won't be the one taking care of her 24 hours, but she's grown very close to me now, man. But yeah, anyways, so thanks, man. Yeah, she's a cool cat, man. I've never really been a cat guy. I was always way more into dogs, man. But you know, as far as having a pet goes, cats aren't like horrible. Dogs need to be walked, like especially big dogs need to be walked. It is a lot of a commitment. She still needs certain things, but you know, it's just a little easier dealing with her. Oh, now you're gonna come back? Now you're gonna come back? Okay, so now you want to get picked up. Oh, yay, look. Say hi. Hey, everybody. All right. Yeah, she's a good cat. She'd be whooping some ass, though, man. This cat's got a hunting instinct like nobody's business. Oh, so you're just going to bite me? You're just going to claw and bite me now, huh? Oh, there you go. Okay. Tell me about it. I have a Dachshund. He used to be skinny. Now he's massive. Yeah, I know. Okay, you're just going to bite my... All right, no, that's cool. I'll just go ahead. Just ruin everything. Yeah, you can do whatever you want, I guess. Yeah, she's a cool cat, man. I wish I kind of had my camera angle set up differently. All right. She hit my soundboard. Man, I wanted to use this one.
Oh, won't somebody
That would have been a perfect sound effect for this whole stream. How much did those figures cost? These ones. Let me just put this here to attract focus. Man, I can't even remember. That's sad as hell. I can't even remember what I paid for half of these. That one I think was like $250, and it's worth $500 now used. It's worth like $450-ish. This one was, I can't remember. I think that one might have been just under $300. This Darth Maul, and I don't know what it's worth. This is an original Predator from the first movie. I know that one's worth a serious chunk of change, but I paid $220 for it. That's Killmonger from Black Panther. Damn, I don't even know what the hell it's worth. I think I paid around $200. And then that's Sweeney Todd, and then that's Leon the Professional, Jean Reno. Then I got a couple others that I never even opened because there's just no room to put this stuff. But yeah, so they were a chunk of change, man. And then this Halo figure I got as a gift from my buddy, which was pretty cool. And yeah, I mean that's about it. So it is a little chunk of change, but it's all right. Anyways, man, I'm gonna take off, bro. But I appreciate you kicking it with me this whole time. And I think Mr. Pitt might have dipped out already, but I appreciate Mr. Pitt too. And I'll try to do more streams. Streaming's fun. Like on a day like this, man, it's raining and stuff. But like it's just I always tell myself, I'm gonna do streaming, I gotta go into it properly. Like I feel like I don't want to rickroll the people where it's like, oh, he's streaming, he's not streaming. It's like I wish I could commit to giving you guys a once a week stream, And then what that would allow me to do is throughout the week, I would accumulate like 2 or 3 things to talk about, and then we could just run them through in the stream, W stream. Thank you, man. Appreciate that. Well, I will see y'all on the next one, and hope you guys have a amazing rest of your weekend.